where Bitcoin is, because you remember when it ran up to 14,000 and then pulled back to about 9,000, you said, that got a little bit out. I wish I'd sold some. At 14, yep. You copped to that, and you got in trouble. The stackers all wrote in, Novogratz says, paper hands or whatever the heck they're called. All right, now you got the 62. Now we're at 45. What are your hands feeling like? Are they paper? How come you're not doing the same thing? Why aren't you saying, you know what? I've made 10 times my money. Why don't I get out and then stack when it comes back down to 20? So you must not think it's going back to 20.
I think 40 should hold. I think we're going to be in a 40 to 55 range for a while. We'll consolidate, and then we'll have another leg up. And I say that not just by guessing. We see institutions moving in, and it takes them a while, right? UBS, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, almost every bank is on the way into their wealth channels. They're not there yet. They're getting set up. They're getting their funds ready. And so you think about just Morgan Stanley for a second, right? 2013, 14, I think I was like the lone Wall Street guy screaming about Bitcoin. Morgan Stanley just trained 4,000 financial advisors to sell Bitcoin. And so we're going to have these armies of newly anointed prophesizers, salesmen who have learned the technology, who have learned why it's important in your portfolio, all going out to the bulk of wealth in America, 50 to 80-year-olds. And I think that's going to have an impact. It doesn't happen
40.
overnight.
You would stack at 40. You would start.
I would stack at 40.
Happy Bitcoin Tuesday, freaks. It's your boy Odell here for another Citadel Dispatch. Last time we did one of these, last Bitcoin Tuesday, we were up a humble $13,500 from where we are today. It's been a 24% decrease week over week since last Bitcoin Tuesday. Hope you guys are all hodling in there and you didn't get to let your ego get to you too much, and you weren't leveraged, and you didn't get blown the fuck out. Because if that's the case, then you're in stacker's paradise right now, accumulating some cheap sats. Citadel Dispatch is the interactive live show about Bitcoin, distributed systems, privacy, and open source software, coming to you every Tuesday. This is our 22nd episode. Very excited about it. To those coming in through our audio streams, our two podcast feeds, that was our boy Joe Kernan on CNBC talking with Novogratz about stacking the dip and about weekends. Novo is a bit of a shitcoiner, no doubt, but it's always good to see that kind of talk on mainstream media. It's pretty funny how it is permeated everywhere. As always, I just want to do a big shout out to the ride or die freaks that are here in the live chat and that have supported the show. Couldn't do without you guys. You guys are what it's about. You really make Bitcoin Tuesdays really special to me. So thank you to all you guys, especially if you're coming in through the podcasting 2.0. The streaming sats is really fucking cool. We're going to talk about that a little bit on this show. But if you haven't checked out Breeze app, like the Breeze app is you really see the future there. You can really see the future of being able to stream value directly to content creators. Rather than this ad model that is just like proliferated everywhere. So definitely check that out if you haven't. I also want to do a big shout out to our boy Jack Mahlers, living legend. He set up the Indy race car. We're going to have a Bitcoin race car number 21 at the Indy 500 this weekend. He completely turned down any actual strike branding on the race car. So it's going to be completely Bitcoin branded. And they're accepting donations that will go to open source development. So it's a really fantastic initiative. We had, I think Michael Saylor pledged $250,000 the other day, earlier today. So pressure all your businesses in the Bitcoin community to step up to the plate and support open source development in probably the most baller fucking way possible, which is with a really fast fucking race car in front of 144,000 people in Indianapolis. And I've been supporting it as well. You can support it at strike.me/racing. Any donations that come in through the LNURL QR code on the bottom left hand of the screen, if you're watching the video stream throughout this stream, will be split 50-50 with the race car. So just trying to do my part to help this initiative. It's a really fucking great initiative, and it really aligns well with the work we've been doing at opensats.org and also bitcoindevlist.com. So I'm really excited about that. With all that said, this is Citadel Dispatch 22. We have Evan Kalutis returning for his 5th show.
Oh, man. What's up, Breaks? Glad to be back.
One of our resident lightning junkies. So it was important that he was here for the show. Last week, if you missed it, you should go and check it out. But there was a very deep dive into lightning privacy with our boy Anthony and Open Arms. So we're going to do the same fucking thing again. It's going to be another really deep fucking show on lightning and just continue that path. And we're fortunate enough to have Fiat Jaff here with us, who is someone I've admired a lot on the internet, but I never heard his voice till today. So it's really excited to have him on the show. What's up, Fiat Jaff?
Hey, what's up?
Thank
you for inviting me. Yeah.
Very prolific lightning developer. So really excited. The other thing that I wanted to mention before we jump into this is that I've been updating citadeldispatch.com. And now all of the episodes are up there with embedded videos and searchable transcripts. I have continued my trend of just losing money doing this show. So I put another 1 million sats into automated AI transcripts, which, to be quite honest, aren't that good, but it's pretty fucking cool that you can search through all of the episodes. And I'm going to be going through those and trying to edit them and refine them because they have like these tools that I could do that for. But in the meantime, all 22 episodes of Citadel Dispatch are easily searchable on citadeldispatch.com. So pretty fucking cool. So with all that said, I mean, I guess, let's, people pretend that they're in it for the tech, but we got to talk about what's on everyone's mind. Is Bitcoin dead? Are we going to zero? Is it all over? And why did Elon fuck us?
That's a loaded question. Wow, Matt, right to it. Yeah, man, it's been a really crazy week. I know a lot of hodlers are having their net worth fluctuate, and a lot of people without faith just selling and letting go of their whole bags. It's a little overblown, to be honest. And, of course, Mr. Musk isn't helping with his bullshit, but at the same time, just kind of drawbacks or, sort of par for the course. If you look to 2017 even, we drew back like 4 or 5 times like this, 30% plus. And I think people also need to take into account that taxes were due the past couple of weeks, right? So there's going to always be a lot of people just offloading their bags just to pay the bills, especially if there's, traders in this field.
So you think like people are panic selling their Bitcoin like the day before tax day when they realize how much taxes they owe?
I think there's a lot of people that don't plan in advance. That's for sure. But, it's also not, we also can't neglect, all the rhetoric and the posts from Elon this week. Of course, that shook a lot of people out. It's hard to deny how much we pumped when Tesla said they were adding to their books. So that's obviously a factor too. But
I think we are like the fall of the price was not that big. I don't know because I'm not following that much. So, but if you were at 5,000 and you drop to 4,000, it wouldn't be a very large dip, right? So what happened now isn't that big. And Elon put us on a new level, and we didn't drop from that level yet. So
yeah, I mean, I think people love to put and I kind of set you guys up with the question. I just think it's funny that I just got all these people reaching out to me, like texting me, like, "What the fuck is Elon doing? Like, what a fucking asshole! What a douchebag!" It was like I said to a friend, it was almost like they found out their best friend like slept with their fiance. You know, like they were like so betrayed. I'm like, guys, like what the fuck did you expect? Like he's never been a stable person. Like who thought like
it's not even just that he's not a stable person. It's like who the fuck is this guy? Like think about it. Like Tesla doesn't make money off their cars, right? He has one of the poorest run alternative energy companies, right? In whatever his panel company, and SpaceX is a darling for government subsidies as well, right? These are the kind of people that are going to suffer the most post hyper Bitcoinization. So it should leave. It should be a surprise that an individual like this is working to thwart Bitcoin, and trying to hold on to that sweet subsidy for as long as he can.
But I just wanted to just add here. I mean, if you look at in bull markets and bear markets, people just like trying to find explanations for price drops. But this is a thing that is just natural. It is going to happen. Bitcoin is a truly scarce asset. And as a result, as it's going through its adoption phase, you tend to have these, rapid increases and then decreases, where it's just trying to find its support level. It's like there's no way for it to really go up in a smooth fashion because it's just like almost like pure chaos. And I have a chart on the screen for the people on the video streams from Glassnode's weekly report. And as you can see on this thing, like we had massive drawdowns in 2017 too. Like people after the fact will pretend, staying humble and stacking sats was the easy mode. And that anyone could have hodled and that we were all fucking lucky. But there was a lot of shit your pants dumps that happened in 2017. And there's going to be a lot more that happened this time. And it's just that now we're at such a higher number, a 23% drop is $14,000. Like that's not nothing, right? Like that's absolute terms. I could see it scaring more people. So that was our daily Bitcoin price talk, and now we can jump into the tech that everyone cares about.
Yeah, fuck Elon, huh?
Yeah, I mean the moral of the story is that Elon is wanting to make sure that the whole world knows that he's still short Bitcoin. So,
but it should be a lesson. Like we shouldn't simp for any billionaires. We shouldn't simp for any billionaires, and definitely don't simp for any cantillionaires that are, just drunk off of the government spigot.
We have full-time Bitcoin in the comments, who's our resident Tesla freak. He's obsessed with Tesla, so he wants everyone to know to fuck Elon, but not fuck SpaceX. I don't know why he's making that distinction. I mean, I'm kind of excited for Starlink. I think Starlink could be very useful to us. I would never get a Tesla, period, though, because it's like a horrible fucking car for privacy. And
don't get me started on that.
And you have you just imagine automatic updates to a car. Like the thing is like going like 80 miles an hour and it's getting automatic updates. It scared the shit out of me. I hope one day
ransomware is bad on an oil pipeline. Like, what if you get ransomware on your car? What if you're not driving it? What if your wife and kids are driving it?
The best excuse if you're late to a meeting, my car got ransomwared. I hope that some rich Bitcoiner at some point in the future creates like a luxury private car company, that has no computer in it. It's just like got a regular combustion engine in it, but it's a nice car that's privacy focused. That would be the ideal for me. Because like right now, I feel like I have to buy a 20-year-old car if I don't want a computer in it,
or at least a hardening service. Like drop my Tesla off and like chop that up. Like let me get a couple of firewalls in there. Some ways of verifying what's going on there, and cut off the core functions from the web.
I'm told that updates aren't automatic, so. Live corrections are the best part of the show, or one of the best parts of the show. Okay, so
for now they're not automatic, so
for now.
Yeah, I mean they're not automatic, right? But it's closed source, and no one's verifying it before they click the update button. So who the fuck? It doesn't really matter.
If you press the accelerator, it updates. It's your consent.
Yeah, so that was a very important Bitcoin discussion. I'm really glad we had it. And I think let's just, so this dispatch is all about fiat Jeff. Dispatch is all about actionable Bitcoin discussion. So the idea is, um, I want us to focus on things that Bitcoiners can actually, use in their day to day basis more so than big picture things. But since I have you, you know, I I think we'll um, ignore that aspect just for the beginning here. And I'm kind of curious, big picture. You've been, really focused on Lightning development specifically. Are you, the 2 year, 3 year outlook for Lightning? Are you bullish on it? Are you bearish on it? What are your thoughts there? Should Bitcoiners seem to be very hyped about Lightning right now? Is that hype properly placed or is it misplaced?
I think it's properly placed, but I'm not sure for the same reasons. I'm bullish. I'm bullish on Lightning, but I'm bullish on more like a network and less like a trustless peer payments through channels thing. Like uh, I think Bitcoin will have other forms of transferring. There will be other forms of transferring Bitcoin, and I think Lightning is the base for should be the base for all these. Like if someone comes up with another protocol, we should integrate it into Lightning, and then Lightning will be this network that connects everything, including custodial services and other stuff. So I'm bullish on it because of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think we tend to be on the same page there from what you just said. One interesting aspect is that a lot of and you just mentioned it, the word custodial. I mean, a lot of developers frown on anything custodial related, but I feel like you've kind of leaned into it. Uh, do you want to in a lot of ways? I feel like Lightning. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I feel like Lightning really works well as like interoperable custodial wallets. This idea where you can
Yeah,
have like a bunch of little custodial wallets with varied trust models, and they can all interact with each other in an open way.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's what I think through like since a long time. When people use it to say like they still say like if you're going to use a custodial wallet, better use PayPal. But this argument is stupid because PayPal is not using Bitcoin, and then they say, oh, so use Coinbase, but Coinbase is a closed thing. You're stuck inside there, and they own you if you're there. But if you're using a custodial service that interacts with Lightning, then it's open, and then anyone can join other custodial service. Like competition makes things better. Like we don't have to have trustless everything. We need the trustless option, but the market, the free market of services still works very well for most things. So
so,
also for money transferring.
so do you think the average user should be using their own Lightning node when they interact with Lightning?
Well, I think they should for now if they are willing to if they want to understand it, they must run a node to see it happening and so on. But I don't think most people are up for this. Like they don't care. And so I think the people that care and the people that understand should strive to create an environment in which the people that don't care don't get trapped inside Coinbase. They can get trapped inside a more open thing. Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, let's talk about so right now I have this LN URL on the bottom left hand corner, and it uses your LNTX bot, which is a Telegram bot, but I feel like that doesn't go far enough. It's a full fledged Lightning wallet that runs inside of the Telegram app, which is already installed by, well, I don't know, like a couple billion people probably. Um, And it's got tons and tons of features in it, including this static donation QR code that allows anyone to just scan it, whether it's during the show or later, and it goes right to my wallet. Now that wallet is custodial though. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, the main reason it's custodial is because it makes it way easier for you to implement those features, right? In like a UX friendly way.
Well, the actual way it's custodial is because I didn't know how to do it like differently when I did it. But yeah, if it wasn't custodial, it would require people to run software and connect to the bot, and no one would do it. So
but let's talk about the risk, right? The risk is that you run away with my money, and or that there's some kind of pressure and you have to require KYC. So both of those get mitigated if you just use it with less amount of money, right? I mean, that's basically the argument, right? It's like if you run away, if you decide to do an exit scam on this wallet, you know, I'll lose $50 or $60 or whatever, and I'll just call it a day and call it even.
Yeah. I think that's exact. For these custodial wallets, if you put low money on it, it's all fine.
It's just weird.
People running nodes to you start a full Lightning node and open channels just to transact $5 on it. It's not good investment.
Yeah, it's weird because, like, you know, we go deep into the weeds on this show. I mean, dispatch freaks are, you know, I think they're very enthusiastic about Bitcoin. They're very focused on Bitcoin, on best practices. Most of them are probably using their own nodes. But then you have like wake up calls where, you know, I had Keto Miner and NVK on the show. You know, they're both highly technical people, very educated Bitcoiners, and they both admitted, you know, Keto Miner runs a Lightning service. They both admitted that their favorite wallet to use was Wallet of Satoshi, which is a custodial mobile wallet. So I feel like there's this massive disconnect between like the geeks in the space and reality, right? And no one really discusses it. So I kind of like that. I think Dispatch should be able to bridge that gap. There's definitely a role here for custodial wallets, and to say otherwise is just ignoring the reality, right?
Yeah. But I think if you're talking about building bridges, I think the biggest problem with custodial is the privacy. Not that someone will steal $10 from you. Like the privacy is much worse because I can see all transactions from everybody on LNTX bot, and that's bad. But the solution to this is that the hosted channels thing. Have you heard about that?
Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah, the hosted channels is a protocol that uses the same Lightning base, like the same communication channels, and you just do something similar to Lightning. It's a channel with amounts and so on and balances, but the client doesn't control the money. The money stays on the host side. So it's a custodial service, but it's fully private because the host doesn't know where you're sending the payments to, and basically
now this is currently implemented on BLW on Android. Is that right?
Yeah, it's currently implemented on BLW, and the server side there's it's running on Eclair from Anton, which is my pseudonym. Just kidding. And now Anton is making a new wallet that's much better, much cleaner, I think, and with the Immortan library, and releasing a plugin for anyone to run the server side on their Eclair node easily. So there could be a bunch of different custodians hosting these channels, and also I'm planning on finishing, like, getting my work done and making a plugin for C Lightning to support this. If I find that extra hour in the day, I'll do it.
Yes, I think that BLW is a pretty interesting model. So, you know, you have those hosted channels that are indeed custodial, but for more pressing stuff, or when you can't find a route, you're able to have your own channel opened up, to make those connections that are, those payments that are more private and to the routes you want to make.
And you can have a wallet with different channels, different hosted channels to different hosts, and your money doesn't sit all in one place, and then you send MPP payments splitting over these different hosted channels. It's very private, very private, and I think it's a very good model, and no one's talking about it.
Yeah, it's definitely underrated and has a lot of interesting qualities to it. And I think it's only going to get more interesting as we have more providers like this that offer hosted channels, as more different wallet implementations have support for it. And furthermore, down the line, as far as like protocol stuff goes, as routing is split up and sees a whole bunch of innovations, then things start getting really interesting.
So the simple summary of the hosted channels trade-off is you don't have custodial privacy, but they can still steal your funds, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I think you should call them credit channels. I don't understand why custodial is bad, but credit is good on the mainstream like finance world. Credit is okay. You don't pay taxes for credit, but the government goes against you if you do custodian stuff.
But when we have, there's an interesting nuance here, right? Because you have a privacy concern with your custodian. I mean, if we're not talking hosted channels, but in a lot of ways, you get better external privacy if that custodian is a trusted source. If that custodian is not working against you, if the custodian is working against you, you have worse privacy. But if the custodian is attempting to protect your privacy, then you have, in a lot of situations, you might have better privacy. Like, one of the things I think is interesting about Bitcoin on-chain is historically we've had a ton of custodial wallets and they've all failed. So people have moved, to pretty much the default is non-custodial, right? Like it's a very rare day where you have a mobile wallet that has custodial on-chain. We still have that in Lightning, and we have 6102 in the comments. I think one of the main concerns I have with something like Wallet of Satoshi or Blue Wallet is it's not very clear that it's a custodial wallet, and what the risks are and what those trade-offs are. But we've seen on-chain, people have moved to pretty much self-custody by default. And as a result, all of a sudden, on-chain privacy techniques are more important, right? Because if you're, and I see people realizing this, even if they don't admit it, when they try and pay me from Strike or Cash App because they don't want me to, see what their balances are. So they rely on the custodian to protect their privacy for them, which I just think is just an interesting thing that happened that no one really talks about. Was this move from custodial dominating to non-custodial and the impact it had on on-chain privacy?
Yeah. I was not following the Bitcoin space at this period when people used custodial on-chain wallets, so I don't really know. But this thing about not sharing your balances is to the person you're paying. This is not talked about very much. In this, every time someone talks about privacy, no one talks about this, or maybe I'm missing it. The join market has a good solution to it. You can pay someone while doing a coin join with the exact amount, so it fixes that. But yes, but with Lightning, it's much harder to move to a non-custodial setup. So
what do you think?
You can keep smaller amounts. Okay.
I mean, the big thing I think with non-custodial Lightning is channel management, is this concept of channel management. And I think it kind of goes hand in hand with how hard it is to conceptualize UTXO management to begin with, and coin control. This is something that we're always harping on and very focused on in this space. But it's UTXO management is like a very hard thing for people to grasp, and as a result, I feel like Lightning channel management is also has this speed bump. It's a hurdle to try and understand it, and that's kind of where the custodial wallets come into play. Before I get there, 6102 is saying it was always dominated by non-custodial wallets. I mean, I would push back there. What I'm suggesting is, stuff like Silk Road, for instance, was a completely custodial product that had a built-in mixer, and the users of Silk Road were relying on that custodial privacy to provide them privacy. But so I'm talking about from that angle, or any of the exchanges that were non KYC, stuff like BTCE that existed for the longest fucking time, or MintPal or Cripsy or whatever. I don't know, all the fucking shitcoin casinos that had no KYC. Those are all custodial wallets. But anyway, I'm getting derailed. Fiat Jeff, I'm curious. So we're talking about UTXO management, channel management. One thing we've talked about a lot in this show is the Uncle Jim model. This idea where you have like a friend or family member. In this case, his name's Uncle Jim, and he runs the node for the family, and he has like 25 or 30 people that he's custodial on top of, that he's their Bitcoin friend or Bitcoin uncle. And we've seen Samurai implement this with their QR code pairing with the node, but that's obviously not Lightning. And we've seen Blue Wallet implement it recently on the Lightning side. So Blue Wallet defaults to custodial, but it runs on LND Hub. So if you run LND Hub on your Raspberry Blitz or your Umbrel, or I think my node as well, you can then be the Uncle Jim, and you can have friends or family connect to you, and they don't have to deal with any channel management or anything. You deal with that. Is this something that you think can scale? Is that a path forward that could work on trade-off wise, or is that something that you think is just a complete waste of time?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good thing for the future and for now. Yeah, I see it happening. I see people on the LN Beats Telegram chat asking about how to set up the LND Hub plugin so they can host for friends and family. And yeah, since a long time ago, I thought about this too, and I think it's a good model. I think the model with hosted channels, anyone being able to run their own hosted channel server, that's good too for this specific case too, the Uncle Jim stuff. So yeah, I think this is the way future is this and other things. The good thing about Lightning is this: you can have the Uncle Jim model, you can have the completely running your own stuff model, you can have the big exchange bank model, everything together. And also people running Lightning nodes on Liquid and other sidechains.
What are your thoughts here, Evan? I mean, you're the lead maintainer of a completely non-custodial, non-Uncle Jim, use your own node wallet.
Yeah, so I really do.
It supports Uncle Jim model, right?
It does have support for the Uncle Jim model. So we have support for LND Hub. You can download Zeus and use that if you want. We auto-generate the Blue Wallet LND Hub server, but we encourage everyone to, if possible, find an Uncle Jim to connect to and use their node. In fact, we're doing some work right now. We have some work in right now to fix the connection for LND hubs that are behind Tor. So like, let's say you use an Umbrel and that's on Tor by default. Or the next release of Zeus is going to make sure that that's all ironed out. And if you're an Uncle Jim and you've got a node that's running on Tor, you're running that LND Hub Blue Wallet service behind Tor, Zeus is going to be able to accommodate people using that. So I think that there's some limitations with what you can do with LND Hub. Obviously, you're not going to get the fully featured set of features like key send or channel management or messaging or that stuff. But to onboard people onto the Lightning Network, it's a great solution. And if we want this to be viable and for this to be more common, and for real commercial solutions, like with big corporations running stuff, to not be the default, freaks have to go out there and run it themselves and try to onboard their friends and family. Let's make this the way that people experience Lightning Network for the first time. There's so much more, it's so much easier to go to your friend, your buddy, your Uncle Jim than to, file a support ticket at this big corporation that's you hope is inevitably going to be looked at. And, centralizing risk. You don't want these big honeypots of people's info to, keep growing and collecting people's data and, be there to be subpoenaed by federal government.
But are we, like, I see why it's ideal. I mean, look, Bitcoin doesn't have a support department or marketing department. A show like this, we can hit thousands of users, but thousands of people, but like it can't scale to, educating millions or billions. The only way it really scales is like each of the freaks, goes and helps 10 of their friends and family, and they have 10 of their friends and family, and then that's how I like see it scaling. But like, are we biased? Like I wasn't around. I'm a youngin'. I wasn't around during when computers and the internet were starting to become a thing. But like some of the old timers that have been around, they told me, like this was the model that they were talking about back in the day. Like the internet was going to be, your Uncle Jim was going to run the mainframe computer in like his garage and everyone was going to connect to it. And instead what happened was economies of scale just centralized it all into, Google, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Twitter, Twitch, right? Like it centralized it all into these giant clouds, these cloud services.
But that trend is just being bucked now. Like home computing is becoming so practical and so much cheaper. And you know what it really is? It's like people realize the terrors of what can go wrong when you trust these centralized entities with your data. Like the average person is starting to, come to terms with the amount of control that Google and Apple and Microsoft, et cetera, all have. And, now that we have these solutions in, cheap hardware and free open source software, like people are starting to explore. I mean, it's not going to be your grandma that sets one of these off. But, for the people who are willing to do their own research and figure out how all these things work, it's more practical than ever. And, it's not inherently by the default design of the internet that these things would happen and become centralized. It's like a hub and spoke model, like the internet's built to route around these traffic jams. And these sort of centralized entities are sort of anomalous. And, hopefully the movement keeps running and, people take things into their own hands. And, we need to try to make sure in the Bitcoin community that we don't get to that centralized, really highly centralized model. Like we want to try to avoid that instead of having to undo it.
I think like the internet has survived in the sense that you can still go to the Uncle Jim or run your own stuff model today. And even if the majority of people are using the centralized servers and they can migrate off now like they're doing. And so if you can do that on Bitcoin and Lightning, I think we're safe. Like as long as it's possible to jump off, we're fine. The bad thing would be if the centralized big providers just made themselves incompatible with everything else and then they trapped everybody. But if that doesn't happen, it's still okay. Yeah, I saw a question on the chat, but it vanished. Someone asking if you are not liable for hosting the funds of your friends and family. I think I don't know if you are liable or not. I don't know the laws, but I think this question is I see it happening everywhere. Like everybody's too afraid of being liable to stuff. I'm not sure that's the correct mentality. I think we should, like, if everybody, if a ton of people are running nodes and for their friends and family, the government won't be able to track everybody.
This is total cuck mentality. I'm sorry to butt in, but like, if you're gonna have the government have to dictate every private relationship you have, then you've already lost the plot. You know, like we're trying to build a world of voluntary interaction. If you can't man up and you don't want to take on that risk and help advance this technology and make life easier for your friends and family because of legal liability, you're already cooked. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say, but not in these words. So that's it. We have to step up and take some risk, I think, for the benefit of everybody. And if the more people do it, the best. There was also a question that vanished about how Lightning on Liquid would work with Lightning on main Bitcoin. And the answer is just that you just need bridges, and like the nodes that are on Liquid, they must understand how to use the bridge, and the nodes that are on the main chain side, the Liquid node can use the route hints on the invoice to point them to the bridge, and then the bridge knows what to do to send the payment to the Liquid node. If that makes sense. I have a prototype for that, but it needs a ton of improvement to be actually usable. But it works. I think it works.
I feel like you have a bunch of like little projects you're not telling us, Jeff. I feel like
your hands are everywhere.
Like, yeah, I feel like your engine is revving like all the way, all day. Like, it feels like you're a workhorse, man. I gotta say, I'm just impressed by like all the little pies you've got your hands in and all the contributions you've made.
Yeah. I wish they were finished and working, and there were more people helping, maybe making them better than me. But I can't finish most of the things I have. I try.
I mean, I just want to jump back real quick. I think there is, definitely real liability and depending on your jurisdiction. And I think, but mostly that works to our advantage, right? And I guess I kind of asked I asked kind of a leading question when I asked if it's going to centralize. And I think what happens is like the one thing we have going to our advantage is these financial regulations mean that, the centralized corporate services, because of liability, are going to have oppressive KYC. They're going to have, information retention and poor privacy. So because of that, there's actually a major friction point to using these centralized services over using either your own node or I see in the comments they don't like Uncle Jim, they want Aunt Jam. If using your Uncle Jim node, you don't have that friction. So unlike the internet, something like with like Gmail, for instance, right, is like centralized email, right? It's like completely. If you talk to like an original email nerd, like Gmail completely lost the plot and it isn't real email. But people love it, right? And it's because that trade-off isn't very clear, that they're reading your email and they're providing you a service because they're just reading through every single thing you do and just collecting information on you. But if you sign up for a centralized service and they're like, upload your passport, prick your finger and give us your blood, give us your social security number, like the firstborn child, like then, you might look for a different option. You're going to be like, that's a heavy price to pay. So we kind of have that, while that's really, it'll also help to our advantage, the fact that they, the big players will have to ball with those regulations, right?
Yeah, it's definitely something working in our favor.
But the person was asking about the
right. Uncle
small
Jim
players,
liability.
the Uncle Jim liability, and I think Uncle Jim shouldn't worry about that.
Yeah, I mean, if I was a lawyer, I would say to worry about it. But in practice, if you're doing it for like your 10 family members or something, like except for the most authoritative governments, you'll probably be fine. So I kind of derailed the conversation a little bit. We were like dipping our toes into liquid. Fiat Jeff, do you think like liquid is a reasonable project, or do you think like it's unnecessary because of Lightning existing?
Oh, I think it's reasonable. I think custodial stuff is reasonable, as I said before, and like we should strive to get better custodian models, and Liquid is a good custodian model. It's a custodian that it's very private, and actually not very private if you're trying to peg out, and it's reasonably safe, right? Apparently they have good safety for the keys, so it's better than a bank. And it's open. You don't have to KOC to use it. Only if you want to peg out, but that's not always necessary.
Yeah, because you can just do a swap. Really, you don't need to do a formal peg out.
Yeah, that's what I think. The obsession over the peg out is a little bit ridiculous, because the only thing that you really have, trust minimized in and out with is Lightning. Before Lightning existed, this idea that we had a trust minimized way of pegging in is revolutionary on itself. And then swaps, especially if we get atomic swaps. But even if you get, I mean, we already have them. We have the custodial swaps, right? Like the shapeshift type of things, and that's what people have been using with altcoins for however long. It's relatively trust minimized. I mean, obviously they can run off with your money in the interim while the trade's happening. We had Adam back on the show the other day. He made an interesting point. Like, even if we have centralized atomic swaps, that improves the trust model slightly further, because yes, it's a centralized point of failure, but they can't steal your money. The swap only happens if they're giving you the equivalent. So like it's almost like a misnomer saying like we need permissionless peg outs on Liquid. We just need like a healthy swap market, right?
Yeah. I mean, if the peg outs are, someone will have to do the peg outs on the normal way, right? Or at least that guarantee has to be there that there will be a peg out.
Well, Adam made an interesting point, right? And there was a trade-off made, and the trade-off was if you get way better external security for the system if you make it so peg outs only go to approved XPubs, which is the Federation members. So it's a very clear trade-off they made. And I'm not sure. I'm not going to be the one who says that the better trade-off is that they should be able to peg out to any fucking address, because who wants the chance that you could have 10,000 Bitcoin just get drained from the whole system at once, or whatever. I'm being alarmist, but
yeah.
Right?
I didn't know that. I didn't know that that was a decision based on security. So yeah.
Yeah, we did a 3-hour banger with Adam back on the show, which was a very special episode. Where we dove all. No one talks about Liquid. That's why I like to talk about it more. And no one uses it. I mean, if you go to
that's the main thing. More services have to adopt it, really. And if you take a look at their blockchain and see how many transactions are on, it's a ghost town. I mean, it's not to say that it doesn't have some real merits and could be really useful. It's just definitely not where we need it right now. And you could say the same thing about Lightning. Lightning needs a lot more adoption to really.
Yeah, but not the same level.
Yeah, not the same level. People are using Lightning more actively, but they could both use a bump.
Yeah. No one talks about RSK.
Do you have an opinion on RSK?
Yeah, no, I think the same about Liquid. Like, I think it's better than a bank, so that's good. I'm not sure about the Ethereum-like smart contract. I'm not sure they're very useful, but
it has a shitcoin. It has a shitcoin though. Liquid doesn't have the shitcoin.
Yeah, there's also that.
You could generate your own shitcoins on Liquid. When are we going to do the Citadel Dispatch coin? You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is Liquid. This is Liquid on mempool space right now. Like the blocks do happen quicker, so you have to give them that.
Yeah, it's like
But,
one or
look,
two transactions per block.
fucking Ghost Town.
Yeah. Let's
Pretty
see.
crazy.
That's sad.
Let's see what happens if once BIS gets integrated with it all the way, and see how that pans out. That could go a long way. But I think it's also going to take some of the other centralized exchanges to be running it for things to really take off.
Yeah, I mean, we had fee spike and still pretty much no one used it. I don't know. We'll see. I think it's a lot more user friendly for a new user because they don't have the channel management. I think that's the main thing it has going for it. I don't get the whole trader thing, because I think the trader thing can get solved with private Lightning channels. But yeah, I digress. I'm just so Fiat Jaff. You started working with our friends over at Zebedee in December, right?
Yeah.
So we had, to the freaks that remember, we had Andre Neves on the show, CEO and co-founder of Zebedee, 4 episodes ago or 5 episodes ago. So the focus over there is putting Sats and Lightning into games.
Yeah.
You want to dive into that experience at all? Like, what do you think? Is it as natural of a fit as we think it is? Like, is that? Do you think it's safe to say that most Zoomers are going to start using Sats in video games before they use them anywhere else?
Oh, I don't know. I don't understand the Zoomers. I don't play with games very much also, but I think that has potential, and I don't think it's as easy. I've heard you say before, like that you just want to lose sets to some Asian guy that kills you, but I'm not sure that the incentives are that perfect. The sets change the incentives, so you have to change the game a little, like to accommodate. Like poker is a good game that could be played with sets because with money of any kind, because the money is inside the game. It's not just the winner takes all. Like the bluffing and putting money on the table, that's a part of the game. And I think putting sets inside games has to be done on that way too. Like the first version of the infused CS:GO thing, it was just the winner takes more sets. But then we added that coin. I don't know if you saw it. That when you kill someone, they left the sets in the form of a coin in the map. So that changed the incentives. Because if you go rushing to pick up the coins, you expose yourself. And so that kind of changes in the game. I think that's what needs
Yeah,
to
I
be.
love that. It's like if you play Call of Duty, it's like kill confirmed. Like you got to pick up the tags left behind. Otherwise, it doesn't count. So,
But yeah,
really awesome to see you guys think of new game modes and rolling them out. I need to play that one personally.
yeah. But I'm hopeful. I don't see very much the customer side of it, but
Well,
I'm
the
hopeful.
consumers, I mean, look, you said you're not a gamer. The consumers right now, like these guys, these people spend so much money on gaming already. It's like you automatically are losing money gaming. It's just if you add sats rewards, then you might make money as well. Like there might be like a way to make money. And I mean, the example that I always say, I mean, you brought it up, poker is like fucking poker without money sucks. Like I will not sit down to play poker for 4 hours without money now. I'm an adult. Okay. That's something that you did as children. Now that you're an adult, you want to play with cash. Otherwise it's not fun. And I think once you start having good games that have this like built in natively, where if you spend 2 hours, you have real money on the line. It's just going to kind of ruin all the games that don't have it. It's just like, why would you? There'll still be like a place for the single player epic games, where you just want to like lose yourself for 5 hours, 6 hours, and escape reality, and there'll be no money in those. But when it comes to the competitive shit, people are gonna want to. I'm gonna want to play. I want to play the game that I have skin in the game, where I actually have sats on the line.
Yeah, No, the problem is that if you're not the best player in the world, then you're gonna face the best player because they want to take your sets, and then the game won't be fun because you
No,
want
but the
to play
games
with
already
someone
have that
that's
issue.
your level. Do they?
So Fortnite is a perfect example. So Fortnite in the beginning, you would just get like, look, I'm not, the best gamers in the world are 14 years old and their fingers just twitch organically with whatever they're doing. They don't even think when they play. So like in the beginning of Fortnite, we just used to get our asses kicked. And then they added a system, where like there's like a ranking system, like a reputation system, right? And now I can actually win because they only put me with the shitty players. So like I don't think that's necessary. Like that's just good game mechanics, right? Like that's not like period. Even if there's no stats on the line, if you just play a game where you just die instantly all the time, like that's not a fun game.
Yeah. But the problem is that most people want to play with people that are on their level, so the game is interesting. The best player don't want to play with the worst player because it won't be fun. But if they're playing to get the money, then they want to play with the worst player possible, so they get the sets from that guy. So there's a conflicting incentive there that must be solved. But once you solve that, the games do become more interesting, I think.
And I mean, the other thing that you guys are dealing with on the fly, and something we talked about on the show with Andre, is this idea. Is the user friendly nature of the wallet, right? You guys have opted for a custodial wallet over there. Is this something you battle with? Like, I assume you guys would prefer to move to a non-custodial if possible, right?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I would prefer to move to a hosted channel model, but I don't know. The people that play, I have the impression. I'm not sure, but I have the impression that they want to be like the guy who just cares about playing games, whatever, forever kind. It's hard for that same person to be interested in running channels and so on. So maybe that person will move to another wallet that has that capability. But for the Zoomers that don't care about anything, they should use the custodial wallet.
It shouldn't matter though, because like you can just use whatever wallet to pay the invoices to get right.
Yeah, that's the thing.
What's the only requirement? Like you got to do a LN URL pay to get paid out or withdraw.
Withdraw, yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
that still means you're still sitting on a custodial wallet till you withdraw. The main issue of a custodial wallet is KYC regs. Is the same thing we were talking about, that friction. And Zebedee has they have different limits, they have different levels for what level of KYC you do. So lower amounts, it's not like horrible. But I mean, I think ultimately the goal's got to be to move to a non-custodial thing so that you can open it up to more users. I mean, we had Sputnik on the same show, and he has Bitcoin Bounty Hunt, and he was like, he made his game like a proper Bitcoiner originally, and like when you installed it, it installed a full Lightning node on your computer, and like he hit bottleneck issues real quick. And the other thing is in a high fee environment, right? Like if you have to open a channel for someone, you're hitting the chain, right? That could be if block space, the block space is not going to increase, I'd be very surprised if we have block size increase. So if that's the case, we could be looking at $100, $150 main, on-chain transaction fees to open a channel. Like how could you ever have anything under that amount has got to be custodial. Otherwise, you're just burning money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, to be sovereign, to have your own channels, there's a cost to it, and that's one of the bigger problems here. It's like that, and the convenience of not having to manage your channels.
These channels are so fragile. They close if you touch them, they close, and then you lose a ton of money. These things worry me.
There's a lot of things that I feel like are just hidden because developers are just eating the cost right now to build out the user base, right? Like Moon Wallet is a perfect example. Like Moon Wallet's UX is fucking fantastic. but like
I
I
mean,
don't know how they're doing it without just burning a shit ton of money.
they are. I mean, I think they're spending a lot of money for user acquisition costs, and I think that the mix of these companies figuring out like their flows and how much they're willing to spend for this user acquisition, versus also dealing with the custodial wallets and dealing with potential impending regulations and risk there. Like a whole bunch of the wallets that we know and use today might not look the same in even say a year's time.
Well, when the Bitcoin hyper Bitcoinization happen, all these issues will vanish. So we just have to survive until that point.
Yeah, that's true. At least we're seeing a lot of innovation, and not even 3 months ago, I don't think people were using MUN as much, or it wasn't really talked about. So things are moving really rapidly as far as these custodial and in quotes, semi-custodial wallets are going. So I think there's still a lot of room for experimentation, and that's what's happening. But don't expect things to stay the same, or even for your favorite wallet to stick around in say 2 years.
But just to be clear here, that's when we say Moon Wallet, we mean MUUN.
Yep.
Hopefully they will change their name so I don't have to fucking say how to spell it every time. But
What is Moon Wallet with an O? Is there that?
yeah, there's a
Moon Pay.
custodial. Yeah,
Yeah.
custodial, right?
Yeah, I think so. I haven't used their product.
Have you? Yeah. So yeah, I agree. This is like a heavy competitive market right now for Lightning wallets, and most of them will probably not survive. But it should be interesting to see how the whole high fee environment works with Lightning, because I feel like it hasn't really been stress tested under that environment yet. And like it barely did like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. But I feel like people just stopped doing things. Everyone just like walked away. Like if it was sustained, then you'd have bigger issues. We had Anthony Ronning in the comments talking about how ranking systems suck, because we were talking about video game ranking systems, and it reminded me because Lightning Labs released this new tool that can let you explore your boss score last week. And it's still closed. It's not open. Like we don't know how they classify things. And I like tweeted at them in like all caps because I have like 250 peers on that node, and they were like 0 of 250 are good peers. And I was like, you talk shit about my peers like this, and I'll never forget it. And my boss score like moved up like 100 points or 200 points after that, and I got like 7 good peers now.
So what you're telling us is that Boz is the wizard behind the green curtain, and he's just changing things as he wants. Yeah, we need to get Boz on the show. We have too many questions.
Well, if the score has the name of a person,
especially, we need to try to get as many tips out of him as possible.
If the score has the name of a person, you assume that person is manually crafting that ranking.
Technically, it stands for balance of Satoshis. It has nothing to do with his name. That's just a coincidence.
I think it stands for his name too, because he made balance of Satoshis.
No, I'm aware. It's a running joke in here. I think one of the reasons my boss score was bad was because we proposed an Odell score.
Yeah, competing scores. That's minus 500.
Yeah, I think you should do it.
But yeah, I mean, I think we need like. So, what are your thoughts on like reputation systems for Lightning nodes? Like, this is something that's essential, right?
Yeah, I like reputation systems. I just don't know how to do them. It's always very hard. Like a global ranking is not. Maybe for Lightning nodes it's good, but generally like the graph of reputation, I think it works better, but also much harder to build for other stuff. For Lightning nodes, the thing I like about the thing I wanted to see is like if a peer is closing channels, because I hate that. And also failing. I don't know what they measure that, but they probably don't measure if the peers closing channels, because I don't know. You can't know if why a channel was closed unless you're watching the logs and understanding all the internals. So I think that's information is not public. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's tricky right now. There's just so many different metrics out there, and it's hard to weigh them versus each other. I think it's, that's pretty much why the metrics for BOS aren't public. I think they're still getting ironed out. Even a heavy router like BOS is still trying to figure out which metrics together or on their own are most valuable and should be weighted the most. And it's going to take a good amount of time more. We're going to need more routing on the network. And, what may be a good peer for one person might not necessarily be a good peer for another. I think a lot of that really depends on what your flows and the flows of your users are really looking like. You want to make sure that your liquidity is accommodating to the flows that your users are going through on a regular basis, more so than anything else.
Yeah.
So I have the tweet. I pulled the tweet up just because it's fucking hilarious. You mentioned something that was interesting there, Fiat Jeff. I mean, like right now, like it's so we don't even know. Like it's so experimental. Like you can't really like. I have at least on LND. Like I'll just have channels just get closed that I didn't close, that were just, they just closed themselves. And I don't believe that at first I didn't believe they closed themselves. Except I saw like a couple channels closed that like were with people that like I really trusted, and they like swore to me that they didn't close the channel. So like there's like phantom closes happening. A Tor, like should people get punished
when you have
that Tor only?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have a lot of issues with that, getting bad circuits.
So this is the screenshot. This is the screenshot from last week, May 11th, right? And here's the screenshot from today.
How do you jump up so much?
Like I'm green, I'm good, I'm not unstable anymore.
Oh my god, it's the BOS slider, man.
Pretty fucking funny, man. And they have way less. I have way more peers than 176, but whatever. The Tor thing is interesting, right? Because like if you're talking about sovereign Lightning nodes, right? Like they should be running Tor only. But if you're going to talk about uptime, obviously you'd be better off if you're running in like Amazon's main server farm in ClearNet.
Yeah, I just see them as two different classes of nodes. It's like you're either, really into the routing and you're willing to make yourself public facing on ClearNet, or you're more so catering yourself towards personal use and privacy. And I think they're very much different, and they come with their own unique set of challenges, and they're not going to perform the same under the same conditions just because of that network alone.
Fucking hilarious. So last week I accidentally, or maybe 2 weeks ago, I accidentally said that you were the maintainer of Fiat Jaff. I said you were the maintainer of this Immortan, Lightning implementation, which you aren't. But you want to talk about it? Like you're one of the, you're the one who brought it to my attention. So
do we know for sure though? I mean, Fiat Jaff is a NIM, okay? So like, who's to say for sure?
Well, I would love to be the author of this, but I'm not. And well, I can't speak. You should try to get Anton here on the show, but he won't give interviews to anyone, I think. So I'm trying my best. The idea is that, like, the BLW was a custom implementation too. People say it was based on Eclair, like OpenOn said it last week. But It isn't really. He just took the cryptographic functions and encoding functions from Eclair, but all the logic, the Lightning logic is custom, and he's doing it again on Immortan. And basically, he says Immortan has two key differences from the BOW. One is that it has hosted channels like in a more prominent space, and the hosted channels on BLW, like the V1 hosted channels, they were just on the edges of you only have a hosted channel between your BLW and an Eclair server. And with Immortan, he created a parallel network of hosted channels that can route payments. So you can have two Eclairs and a hosted channel between them, and they can sit in the middle of a route, and you can initiate a payment from your Immortan-based wallet that passes through that hosted channel. You can't advertise that channel on the global channel Lightning channel graph because it requires the protocol requires you to have an on-chain UTXO for that. But he made a separate gossip mechanism to announce these channels, and the Immortan wallet understands that, and also the Eclair hosted channels plugin understand that. So they know about the channel. Once you know about the channel, you can send a payment through it, and also the trampoline thing. Like he loves trampoline routing now, and using trampoline routing, one node can outsource, like they can route a payment through your Immortan mobile wallet. So if your mobile wallet is online, you're connected to a node, and if the node understands that trampoline thing, they can route a payment through you to another place, like using another channel your mobile wallet has. So it's good for the peer that it can be like a hosted channel or a normal channel between the Immortan node and the server. It's good for the peer that the sets don't get stuck in that channel, because on a normal mobile wallet, if someone opens a channel to that wallet, or the wallet opens a channel to that node, the sets they're stuck there, like between your Breeze wallet and the Breeze server. There's a channel, and the Breeze server has sets on that channel, but they can't get the sets out unless they close the channel. So they're there. But if using this technique, you can send a payment from the server to the wallet and then to elsewhere. So you can clean up your sets from that channel. Anyway, I hope that's clear. So these two big improvements. Also the ability to, I'm not sure this is doable right now, but actually it is. Like the ability to send a payment that passes through a private channel and then goes on, that breaks the heuristic that like a private channel is always the end of the payment, because you don't know, maybe now that payment will still go on. So it's good for privacy, very good for privacy. It breaks one of the big problems with Lightning privacy that Anthony talked about.
Well, I mean, to break it down, so basically all of our Lightning implementations so far have been focused on full node users. This idea that you use your own node, and it's almost like after the fact, after like a second tier of user is the user who's going to be a light user, and we'll make these different trade-offs to make that possible for them to use it without their own node. While Immortan seems like just an acceptance that not every user is going to use their own node, so there should be a implementation that's focused on light users that aren't using their own node, right? Like from the ground up, it should be focused on that and those trade-offs.
I wouldn't say that users that use your own node, but like the Lightning implementation are focused on servers, I think.
Right.
Like nodes that are online all the time, and then they realized you could have Lightning wallets on phones. But I think like BLW lets you use your own Bitcoin node. By default, it doesn't, but you can point to your own Bitcoin node, and maybe Immortan will too. So yeah, you can still use your own node, but it's focused on the light mobile wallet.
So, Evan, you have any comments here before we move on from Immortan?
No, I'm just really looking forward to it coming out and people being able to mess around with it. It's definitely something I would explore and then want to play around with. I know a lot of people want to get some light client wallets rolling. It's exciting. Immortan might be a really good solution alongside, rolling your own LND or messing with Rust Lightning. Yeah, would really love to play around with it.
I mean, it's interesting, right? Because there's like roles to play for all these things. I mean, I run two 24/7 Lightning nodes. I use Zeus to connect to them. But at the end of the day, like if I'm going to accept a quick payment or something, like I prefer to use Moon. Like it's just cleaner. I like that it's just all built in, And I feel like there's something to be said there about something like Immortan if you have something that's literally designed for basically mobile users, right? And then I don't have to deal with, my Tor circuit working or any of that shit. And I can leave the heavy lifting for those nodes at a different time if I want.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfectly normal to have different, risk profiles for different kinds of payments. You know what I mean? If I'm just trying to accept a cool $10, $20 at the bar from a friend, there's nothing wrong with throwing that on a custodial wallet.
Right. I'm not going to use my fucking routing node to fucking accept that payment. Like that's ridiculous. I'm going to dox my public key to him, at the same time.
Yeah,
anyone that he shares it with by accident.
Yeah. And, things are constantly changing. It's going to be easier with these new routing types to get receiver privacy. But, things are sort of hairy right now. So it's completely normal to be using different wallets for different functions.
Do you think Alan Big is evil? And the fact that Alan Big is sponsoring Immortan makes it evil too?
Oh, Alan Big, Alan Big, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it doesn't make Immortan evil, but it also doesn't make Alan Big not evil.
Why do you think it's evil?
I mean, I'm not saying that Alan Big is evil, but I'm saying that we should be skeptical. Like, I feel like there's a lot of Bitcoin promoters, on Twitter and stuff. Like, look, I don't know if you guys can see on the top left-hand corner, we can see like how many freaks are tuning in through the live streams. It shows the total number of freaks. I'm not sure if they show that to you. Do they show that to you?
I don't see it.
Well, anyway, when we were talking about Elon and the price and shit, we were fucking 10x where we are right now, right? Like when you get like an hour and a half into like a technical conversation, you only have the ride or dies left. And the hidden secret with Bitcoin is, if you care about engagement, the two things that work for you are either heavy fear or, which doesn't even work as well, but the real thing that works is just heavy bullishness. You put bullishness on everything, which is why like this is a technical show, but I'm constantly reiterating that Bitcoin is designed to pump forever, right? Because you got to toe the line. But so the issue is the issue that you see is you see people ignore these things that, bingo, nuance that we should be critical of and we should be concerned about. And the big thing for me for a while, and still is that Ellen Big has like half the public capacity of the network. It's a little bit less now. And everyone just glosses that over when they're talking about public capacity numbers, right? And if you mix it with Ellen Big, and then you do like the top 3 regulated KYC services that are on Lightning, right? Then you're like 75% of the network's public capacity are these, the small group of institutions, and we have no idea who Ellen Big is. So it could very well be, I've heard people speculate, and I really don't have any desire to speculate, but I've heard people speculate it's like a rich Russian Bitcoiner who just wants to see the Lightning Network grow and is throwing a bunch of money in. I respect that. That would be awesome. I'm not, I don't have his kind of money and I'm not Russian, but I did similar with our stacking sats node. I just threw a shit ton of money into it to just try and jumpstart the whole thing and encourage people to, experiment with these kinds of things. But at the end of the day, whoever this unknown entity is running, tens, like 50 nodes, all in from the same like server farm that's like in Langley, Virginia, like right next to where the CIA's base is. And like there's only like 3 of us that call it out, that ever fucking talk about it. No one talks about it.
So what you're saying is operate as if Ellen Big is CIA
or something, something malicious.
I think you should. I mean, not saying one way or the other for sure, but yeah, why not make that presumption and stay on the cautious side? Like when a Morton comes out, we got to review that code. Come on.
Yeah.
And like the analogy that I brought up in the past is like Tor is funded by 3-letter agencies, right? So it doesn't mean that, Tor is inherently bad, but it doesn't make the 3-letter agencies any better for funding it.
I mean, they benefit off the anonymity and the anonymity set that it creates. So it makes sense. It doesn't really devalue it, really, if you could verify what it actually does. But,
Well, it does put into question. It makes you think, like, it makes a lot of sense that Tor is not, designed for an environment where the U.S. government is adversarial towards it. Right. And like there was never designed that way. And I don't think it's a coincidence that, the money behind it happens to be the U.S. government. Right.
I mean, listen, we know the flaws in Tor. Anyone could set up these output nodes. Right. That they could be just pwned over. And to do mostly, it serves our purposes really well.
Well, anyway, that's my little rant on Ellen Big. And we got Anthony in the comments defending them. We should be more concerned about all the random nodes than Ellen Big. Why?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm very naive with these things. Like it looks like a Russian guy with our money that wants to help Lightning, and I believe that because I'm very naive. I also believe Satoshi Nakamoto is a young Japanese boy. So that's my imagination is very
young Japanese boy. I'm on board with that theory. At least we know Ellen Big. It's hard to. They're talking about Ellen.
Yeah, Langley is just fucking with us. Yeah, you're cutting in and out a little bit. Yeah, it's absolutely because of talking about Ellen Big. But yeah, I mean, as far as like connecting to a random node,
Can you hear me now? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, you're back, I think.
Apologies. Yeah, we were disconnected. I was disconnected for a little while there, so I apologize to the freaks if it was disjointed.
You on that satellite internet this week, Matt? Actually, don't answer.
No, it's because we started talking about Big and we used the Langley keyword, and then all of a sudden everything just starts going down.
Yeah, par for the course.
If you keep disconnecting, we won't invite you next week.
Yeah, next time we got it, we'll invite some guests on. Don't worry, Matt.
Appreciate that. Yeah, so I mean, I just want more conversation about Ellen Big. I just whatever. I'm not trying to be conspiratorial here, but I just think if you got to at least discount the public capacity that's provided by Ellen Big because it's all provided by a single entity, right? So,
let's stay on the note of random nodes, though. And Anthony makes a pretty good point in that you sort of have to trust all your counterparties on Lightning, right? You're trusting them to not close your channel at an inconvenient time. But also, if you're routing payments through them and they're your first hop out, they're going to know, that's coming from you and where it's going next, right? So you're trusting them in that regard.
Yeah, but they don't know if you're the one originating that payment.
No, they know that you're just passing something along.
Yeah.
But still, that adds up. If you end up using a route multiple times, they can start, creating a profile on you of some sort. So while you have some guarantees and that, it's not necessarily coming from you, you could be another hop in the net. They could still start making some assumptions about you. So for the most part, I'd say on the end, it's better to have counterparties that you trust.
Yeah. Yeah. For multiple reasons, I think.
I mean, it's a little bit weird, right? Because we were sold. I feel like we were sold that it was, that wasn't the case, right? It was like poor expectation management.
I think like big words like trustless in nature got misconstrued and whatnot, and also things getting learned on the fly as we have this new experimental network that really only been around 3 years now. We're still learning things, every day, really, like new.
Yeah.
Just like hell, even Anthony's deep dive on privacy, like no one's really done that since last week. This is a really nascent network, and I wouldn't blame that part really much as like bad marketing or like fraudulent marketing like other products in the space have, but more so not really knowing all the constraints of it out the gate.
Ted Dreyer tells a story. I heard him saying this on some podcast that like Ted Dreyer and Joseph Fung, I think, the guys that invented the Lightning Network. Yeah, Ted Dreyer, like he tells something like that. Joseph was very excited and saying that. I think he even says that in the original presentation, from 2015, that Lightning Network will allow us to route like dozens of millions of, I don't know, a very large number, and made all that hype about it, while Tej was very cautious and he says he didn't really believe it was going to be such a powerful thing. And then Joseph Poon went to Ethereum, so that's common, like expected behavior.
Yeah, I mean, we have NVK on the show a lot, and he makes an interesting point. I mean, I don't know if it's just a lot of aspects of the Lightning ecosystem feel a little bit shitcoiny, or like less adversarial. It doesn't, and that's not to degrade the devs who work on it all the time. I mean, I have so much respect for all the devs that are contributing to Lightning projects and making it more robust. But it's like the portion of Bitcoin that's like less adversarial, right? It's like our fun sandbox where you can do all these different things and kind of, hashtag reckless, right? Like imagine if like Bitcoin Core devs were like, oh, run Bitcoin Core, hashtag reckless. Like that would be ridiculous.
Yeah, like leave all your funds in the hot wallet. You know what I mean? But no, I mean, listen, it's supposed to be your checking account, right? This is your funds that you want to be able to move at a moment's notice. And there's a trade-off in the security model to accommodate for that. Yeah.
Right.
So it's definitely not where you want to have the majority of your savings on, right? It's just like what you're trying to move in your month or whatever. Or until the next time you have to rebalance or open new channels,
Right. Okay, so I mean, on to the next topic. While we have you here, Fiat Jeff, you have this project that I'm going to butcher the name. Etlinium.
Etlinium.
Yeah, horrible name, dude. It's a really bad name. So you want to talk to the freaks about what it is and why they should care?
I'm not sure they should care. Like the idea of smart contracts, it was on my mind for a long time, and I realized that they could be useful, like as a programmable escrow, like that you put money in there and something happens and people can trust that. They don't have to trust absolutely, but they can trust that the person there's not a person interested in like that can steal from that contract, that escrow. So I made this. This explanation was terrible, but but the idea is that you can. It's like Ethereum, but on Ethereum you have an escrow that is the Ethereum network and the nodes and the validation and the miners and so on. In this case, it's the same, but the escrow is a server that I run, and other people can post their contracts there. Like they write some lines of code, and then they have a smart escrow that they can use for other things. And someone using that doesn't have to trust the person who wrote the code. They only have to trust me in this case, right. And that's it.
So it's like it's a flex on Ethereum. You're saying we can do what you do, and as long as you add this trusted third party. But because this trusted third party, it's like the Uncle Jim model, right? Like the trusted third party can have competition. There's a bunch of different providers. Ideally, there aren't, but if there were, then you could get away with that trust model more. Is that's the argument, basically, right?
The argument is like separating the person that ensures you, that like guarantees your money, like holds your money and guarantees that some code will be run, separating that from the person who wrote the code.
Right. And to me, I mean, the simple use case is this prediction market betting use case.
Yeah, I've been trying to make a ton of small apps to showcase it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one makes the most sense to me. There should be a lot of demand there. Why is no one using it?
I don't think it's very good. Like the incentives are not very good. You have to make another one that uses a different calculation for the market, like, because otherwise you can't buy a lot of shares. Otherwise you pay up the probability will sky high. So you have to buy buy a few shares and tell someone else to buy the others. But it still works like that way. Like it has a automated market maker thing that like you don't need another book for that. So it's good in that way. But on the other hand, it's not very optimized for large volumes. And also the idea that the person who created the contract resolves it is not ideal. Like the
right,
person there should be another way. Yeah.
The discrete log contract guys are trying to solve that, right? Where the oracle is a separate person and doesn't know what the bets are. But I do feel like, when I got into Bitcoin, my first use case, I think, the obvious use case was gambling, right? You had Satoshi Dice, but we had Black Tuesday in America where they basically just like cut off all the online betting sites. And yeah, like it's, online betting now in the United States has become, more legal, and you have you have Portnoy playing in it with Penn Gaming, and you have DraftKings, and, you have Yahoo, you have all these different regulated services that offer online betting. But, to me, there's this massive demand for, no KYC, frictionless Bitcoin gambling, whether that's, we can call it gambling or we can call it prediction markets. It's the same shit. And it's like everyone's just trying to reinvent the wheel almost, It's like I've been in the space for 8+ years, and everyone's trying to overcomplicate it. Like I just need like a relatively simple liquid site that not like liquid Bitcoin, like a site that has enough volume, right? That I don't care if it's centralized, let me just bet with Lightning, get in and out of my bets easily, call it a day. Like I don't,
What do you want to bet on? Like sports or?
Well, the big one in America is Americans aren't legally allowed to gamble on elections. So, all those regulated services I just mentioned simply cannot have any election bets, right? Yeah. So we had this major election come and go, and there was like nobody was offering it. Like the Ethereum guys have like this super complicated augur. the DLC guys are talking about DLCs left and right, discrete log contracts, but there was no easy way to bet on it. That was a failure in my mind, right? Like that's ridiculous. It's 2021.
So there's two problems there. One is the order book thing. The liquidity is important, as you said, but it's very hard to get. And if you do the order book thing, it's impossible because no one's going to put orders on the site without liquidity. And when someone joins the site, they don't find any orders, so it's all empty. So it's very hard to get going. So the automated market maker thing, it solves that part, but I think no one has used it on the wild. It's I copied the code from the HiveMind project, and the other problem is that the law, right? You could have,
right.
Yeah. When these markets start to get interesting, they always fail. They always, like, the government always shuts them down. And you could do, if you watch the post-stores presentation on HiveMind, you can do a ton of interesting things with these betting markets, and you can do conditional betting, and you can like extract a lot of knowledge from the society from these markets using these markets. But the problem is that the law will always be against it. So you need a system like Bitcoin, I think, for this. I think a system that is very censorship resistant. So the Ethereum prediction market is a toy, like to showcase the algorithm, the automated market maker algorithm, to show that it works even with like very few users. You can still buy shares. You don't depend on someone else going on the site at the same time and staying there, something like that. But the other part, the censorship resistant part, is very important. That's why I wanted to see HiveMind working.
And like, I mean, like a Bitcoin, it behooved me to mention, economics geek, Nick Carter, our boy Nick Carter, like he thinks like prediction markets would be awesome for corn futures, because corn futures, I guess, are illegal, and we like he thinks that'd be a fun use for prediction markets. But prediction markets are really fucking cool. This idea that you can gamble on an outcome, because it goes back to the video games that we were talking about with the video games. You have sats on the line. You actually have skin in the game. So those predictions, the way those betting markets go, should be way more likely outcome wise than if you have like a centralized polling provider or something like that. And a perfect example in Bitcoin land right now is like, where the fuck is our betting markets on whether or not when Taproot's going to get activated, right? Like that should be, when I start this show or when I do Rabbit Hole Recap on Thursday and I'm talking about how likely it is for Taproot to get activated, it shouldn't be based on some engagement account on Twitter that's saying, oh, 90% of mining pools are saying it's activated now. It should be on a very liquid betting site that says, 10,000 Bitcoin are saying that, Taproot's going to be activated in the next month and a half. And we don't have that. It's crazy that we don't have that. I am not saying I deserve shit because I'm not going to build that. I don't want to have that liability on me, but some enterprising NIM somewhere in the Seychelles or some shit should have like that service should be available.
It's gonna come. I mean, things are just so early as far as that stuff goes right now. Like DLCs are really just rolling now, and I think we're gonna see a lot more services using them, in the next year even. And furthermore, we don't even have DLCs on Lightning yet. We need to get Taproot activated, and that's going to be a game changer in itself. So a lot of people, probably have an idea of what they want their infrastructure to look like, and it's just not technically possible yet with the state of the blockchain right now.
We got some guys in the comments mentioning Stacks, which was formerly Blockstack, which was formerly something else, I think.
This is terrible shitcoin. This is terrible. They lie. They're liars.
Let's hear this. I want to hear your opinion on it.
Yeah, I want to hear the rundown.
Oh, I don't know very much about stacks, but I know that Blockstack has been lying since they were created. Like they make a ton of marketing about doing something blockchain, something decentralized, something like they don't explain what they're doing, and no one cares, no one looks. And when you go look inside the block stack thing, they have decentralized apps. It was all fake because the apps were just running in a cloud server that you could host yourself. Like, is this a normal app? Like, you can host apps normally, and then you store the data on a decentralized network that's just a server that you can run. But everybody run the server that they offered by default, and then they buy a ton of Bitcoiners with this. They give money for Bitcoiners to build apps that integrated Blockstack. And oh, I don't know. It's so terrible. And then they make this stacks thing that's a shit coin. And they say it's based on Bitcoin, but it's not. Okay. I don't know. I don't know the details about stack, but I know it's not based on Bitcoin. It's not a side chain. And they say it is. So it starts with a lie.
And they have a regulated shitcoin that's attached to it that
Yeah.
they got legal permission to dump on retail. I remember everyone was super proud of them. There's like all the congratulations were going out on Bitcoin Twitter. And I was like, guys, like, can we not congratulate someone for getting regulatory approval to dump a shitcoin on retail? And then I got a lot of shit for that. And here we are. I haven't looked at that chart lately, but I assume it's pretty just trending to zero with everything else.
Matt,
I
you're
mean, this is
holding
my
on
same
to
concern with
that.
RSK, right? Like RSK has got like shitcoin vibes all over it. It's got the fucking token. You know, I don't know what to believe there, right? Would you agree, Fiat Jeff? Like, how is that different than RSK?
RSK is a real sidechain if you consider the federated peg sidechain. So you can really move bitcoins there and transact bitcoins and move them back if you trust their model. So I
But
think
then,
it's
what's
if
the
it.
token for?
I don't know the story about the token, but you can ignore the token. It's like another token
But
inside
if you could
the.
ignore the token, it's almost worse.
I'm not sure. Like the token,
What do
maybe
you
it
need
was
the
a big.
stacks token for?
You can't move Bitcoin through the Stacks blockchain, and you can't move the Bitcoins back. But you can do it on RSK. That's the purpose of RSK. The token was like a money grab thing to finance the stuff. I don't know. I don't like the token, but I'm
Do you
saying
have
it's different. It's different projects. Like one is trying to be a sidechain, even if they have a shady token. The other is just a shitcoin that markets itself with a lie.
A governance token.
they both sound like shitcoins to me. What do you have an opinion on Urbit? While I have
Uh,
you.
I liked
I mean,
Urbit when I first read about it. That's my opinion.
but it also has a shitcoin. It's like
Yeah,
my barometer is like if these things have shitcoins attached to them, it's just like it's
they
probably garbage.
they didn't have a shitcoin in the beginning. It was just that weird talk about planets and ships.
Those are the shitcoins. They have their
But then,
NFT shitcoins like planets, universes, stars. They're all
yeah, yeah,
tradable.
yeah, I know they are now. But in the beginning, when I was reading, there was no mention of shitcoins. And then when they got traction, they said, "Oh, we decided to do these things that are properties on the network, and we need a network." Blockchain to do it, and they decided to do it on Ethereum, and then we launched these tokens. Yeah.
But they're switching to Bitcoin, but it still has the
Well,
like
I,
that's
I
what
think
people don't realize. Like my issue with shit tokens isn't that they're on Ethereum. It's like they're like, oh, if we put the shit token on Liquid, then the Bitcoiners will like it. Like I still don't like your shit token.
But
What
don't you think there is some form of digital assets that can exist besides Bitcoin?
I mean, that's $1 million question. The one that we tolerate on this show is the BISC DAO token. Like, is that a shitcoin?
Yes,
Yeah, sort of.
I think it is a shitcoin.
I mean, like, how deep in the weeds do we want to go defining shitcoins here?
Well, my thing is like if the token represents something real,
Oh, total
yeah,
shitcoin. I mean, like, if it's like a tangible thing in the real world, like, oh, this asset's pegged to
Well, what
gold.
about Tether? Is Tether a shitcoin?
yeah, Tether. I think it's not a shitcoin.
Why is Tether not a shitcoin?
because it's an IOU, like it's not a shit coin.
It's a proper IOU.
Yeah. I think that there's some assets that maybe you can own that aren't money that you can transfer, but I'm not sure about the concrete examples.
Is gold
But
a shitcoin?
governance tokens are always shitcoins.
Come on, gold's totally a shitcoin.
Is gold a shitcoin?
You put that on the screen.
This used to be a reoccurring segment on the show. Like after like 10 episodes, everyone just agreed it was a shitcoin, so I stopped asking the question, but it did fit. What do you think? Do you think gold is a shitcoin?
No. I think no.
Yeah. It depends on what your definition of a shitcoin is, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So if gold's not a shitcoin, then I think I would agree that Tether's not a shitcoin, or like a Tether gold, right? Wouldn't be a shitcoin. If you don't think gold, like if the asset that is backing whatever, you're relying on a trusted third party, it's an IOU, but maybe it's not a shitcoin. But I think gold's a shitcoin, so the IOU is also a shitcoin.
Yeah, but there's also some assets, digital assets. I think maybe the Orbit example is not that bad. If the shitcoins are the ships and planets, they are properties, like they're digital properties on their closed network that you can join by buying a ship.
Digital real estate.
Digital real estate, yeah. Maybe these aren't shitcoins, but
that's what shitcoiners say.
Yeah. Wasn't there a whole shitcoin just based on make-believe land, digital space?
Oh, yeah. Barry Silbert's neck deep in it. What was it called?
Oh, man. There's just too many to keep track of at this point, honestly.
Yeah, but I think the thing has to exist before you sell them.
Decentraland.
Decentraland, that's it.
I hate that I know that.
This is going to be like a game show one day. Who knows their shitcoin?
Name that shitcoin.
Yeah. Hey, idea for a future segment. We'll see.
Well, there was a shitcoin that used multiple mining algorithms to supposedly make it more decentralized, but a malicious individual figured out that all you had to do is compromise a single algorithm to compromise the whole system. What was the name of that shitcoin?
I don't know.
I thought we were playing a game show, so I just went for it. I think it was Verge, right? Dogecoin Dark or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's another show that we won't do our shitcoin trivia show.
So one thing about shitcoins is like the Uniswap example on Ethereum. I don't know if you know about this. Probably you know, but there's the Uniswap thing that doesn't have a token, and it's kind of useful thing in the context of Ethereum. And then they launched another version that has a shitcoin. I think that's the definition. Like, you don't need that. You had it working without the shitcoin, and then you launched something with a shitcoin, and you invented some crap that shitcoin does.
I love
that's
that
the definition. Yeah.
But you realize what happened, right? It was a competitor. It was a competing product released it with a shitcoin that made you money if you used it.
Is it Pancake Swap or something?
No, it was Sushi Swap.
Sushi.
I fucking hate that I know this. It was Sushi Swap, and then they were taking all the volume from Uniswap. So then Uniswap added their own token because they didn't want the volume to get taken. And then Binance CZ, fucking just completely cloned the whole Ethereum chain and made it super centralized with 3-second blocks. And he called it Binance Smart Chain. And on that, he created Pancake Swap, which is a direct copy of Uniswap and Sushi Swap, but is on Binance Smart Chain. So that's what's going on in shitcoin land right now.
What CZ did was he saw at Lenium, he's like, wow, how awesome could a project be if you centralize it? And he pretty much copied it.
But he had good branding instead of Antelenium.
Yeah,
Binance Smart Chain sounds so much better.
Ethereum is better because you can talk to the external world. Like on Ethereum, you can't, but on Ethereum, you can make HTTP calls to other sites and fetch data. So the Oracle problem is solved. You just have to trust the server.
So it's not solved.
Yeah, it's not solved.
I mean, that's the main issue with the Oracle problem, right? Is like a trusted third party.
Yeah, but you're already trusting the entire Ethereum structure. So
Okay, so Lightning Junkie is pretty upset with us for talking about shitcoins. I just want to one more
Rightfully
thing,
so, actually.
just really quickly. Like this BSC thing is hilarious. Like this is something that a lot of us have theorized for a while, and Binance finally did it. Is just that if you start centralizing to try and reduce fees and friction, someone else is going to come that centralizes further, and you're just going to. It's a race to the bottom. You're just going to have to compete. And Bitcoiners don't talk about it a lot with the BSC thing, but it's like their Bcash, but it's actually being done by a player who's actually very sophisticated in the market, Binance. One of probably the most popular exchange by volume. I mean, who knows how much volume is real, but he's like actually executing on this shit, and he uses the same fucking addresses, right? Like we had. It's literally the same exact address format. If you look at a BSC address, it looks exactly like an Ethereum address. You can't tell the difference. It's exactly the same address. You can switch between. He even has a setting you can switch MetaMask that just switches to his chain. And like now we have Portnoy. Portnoy. I'm not going to say the name of the shitcoin, but Portnoy shilled the bottom of the barrel shitcoin. Guess what chain it's on? It's on BSC. It's not on Ethereum. So they played themselves. And it's just pretty fucking hilarious case study to watch unfold.
yeah, that's awesome.
So Lightning Junkies wants us to talk about any prove-out L2 channel factories. Do you guys have strong opinions on them? I mean, I think we need additional soft fork to enable that, right?
Yeah, I think so. Any prove-out is BIP 118, I think. And L2 builds upon that. I'm not entirely sure. Then channel factories, I don't know too well. I bet Jaff could speak to a lot of this stuff better than I could, actually.
So yeah, that's the best soft fork, much better than Taproot, much more useful than Taproot. We should have this and not Taproot. If you maybe you can have both. Yeah, probably you need both.
So could you explain what it is in a nutshell to someone who may not know and hasn't been following?
So the basic idea is that you can create a Bitcoin transaction that doesn't reference a previous output. And then later, after the transaction is already signed and okay, you assign it to a previous output. And this enables L2, which is a much better way to have Lightning channels that you can just keep updating the state and deleting the previous states, because you always have a transaction that is pre-signed by your peer, and you can attach it to any previous state of that channel. So if your peer tries to cheat you, you can attach the newest version of the channel to that, and then you're okay. So you don't have to keep track of all the previous states. Like currently, you keep track of a penalty key for all the previous states. So it's very cumbersome and very complex design. Very, very complex to implement. And with L2 is much simpler. So you can have more complex stuff on top of L2 that you can have today, like these channel factors they're just channels with more than one peer. They call them like multi-party channels. And then you can have a channel with a bunch of peers, and you make virtual channels between these peers inside this multi-party channel. And then if one of these, like if two of these peers want to exit, they can exit to the chain. They can leave the multi-party channel with their own channel, and then it becomes a standalone channel. Anyway, it's better. It's better for backups. It's better for watchtowers. You can actually have watchtowers, because in the current model it's too cumbersome and expensive to have watchtowers. But with any private L2, you can. Yeah. And other things I don't remember.
Unwanted channel closes are going to decrease too, as you could pop in another input.
Yeah. One of the causes of channel close today is fee negotiation. Like when you create a commitment transaction that you need when you want to force close a channel, the peers have to agree on a fee, and like they have to agree on a fee that will be valid in the future. So it's complicated. And when the negotiation doesn't match, like one peer wants a higher fee and you want a smaller fee, then they close the channel. So that's very bad. But with any private, you can always pay for the fee at the time you're committing you're closing the channel through child pays for parent things. So I think it's better. And what else? So you remove that step from the problem. Yeah. Also, in Prevault is very good because it enables space chains. Watch the video from Ruben Sonson on space chains.
I watched that for say, why should I care about space chains?
Well, there are some things, as I said, that maybe you want a blockchain for, but you, like in 2013, people were talking about things you can do on a blockchain. Most of them are shit, but some of them were not that bad. But the problem is that to have a blockchain, you need a way to mine that chain, and to mine that chain, you need a shitcoin. So no blockchain is good because they all have shitcoins. But with the space chains, you can have a blockchain without a shitcoin that merge mines with Bitcoin transparently. So that's it.
But
so you
like,
can have one of the examples. Actually, the one example I have is DNS, because in the real world now we are all owned by the ICANN people that are vampires. I don't know who they are, but
it's Ellen Big.
Yeah, probably. So we need an exit from ICANN, and a blockchain. I think it's the best way, and it's good that now with space chains we can have a blockchain for names that isn't a shitcoin.
Well, that sounds pretty cool. I wonder like how much. Like I feel like it's hard for us to grasp what the future looks like. You know, you have all these moving parts. I mean, so much of it is. I mean, it's overwhelming to me, and I spend so much time trying to understand it. I wonder, you know, how much I'm missing when I'm thinking about, you know, what it'll look like in 5 years, or what'll the future look in 5 years. I mean, the other big thing I'm pretty excited about is state chains, which I don't think requires any kind of soft fork. Period.
Oh,
it just has an interesting trust model that
it requires an prove-out too.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, but there's this version the Commerce Block is making.
Yeah, that one doesn't require it, right?
Yeah, that doesn't require. But with and Prevail, they're better. They're much better.
Without it, the trade off is you're trusting that the state chain provider and your counterparty aren't colluding. As long as they don't collude, you're good though.
No, that's with and Prevail. Yeah, that's with and Prevail.
Oh.
Without and Prevail, I think the only difference is that they expire. You use time locks, so your state chain thing expires. You have to go to the chain from while to while.
Which is obviously not ideal in a high fee environment.
Yeah, but still, the on the other side, like on the real state chain's vision, you still have to trust the counterparty. That's the entity. But the entity can be blind, so it's kind of better. They don't have to know about they only have to sign stuff. They don't have to know they are the federation that's custodian. They're not actually custodian things. They're just signing stuff.
Got it. So do you guys think we're going to get Taproot by the end of the year?
Yes, definitely. Probably in the next activation period, it'll lock in. I mean,
yes.
You don't think miners are going to fuck around?
There's going to be some fucking around, Matt, but there's going to be a limit to how much like these guys can push the envelope.
So Evan, we don't have the prediction market I want. So like, do you want to put money on the line that the next activation period doesn't we don't get Taproot?
Yeah, let's have a friendly wager. What do you say?
How much is a friendly wager?
I don't know. Put at least 100,000 sats down.
That's it. Well, let's do 500,000 sats.
500,000 sats. We have 3. Let's do it.
Okay, so if Taproot passes the threshold, I guess it technically doesn't activate, right? But if it passes the threshold of 90% over the next difficulty adjustment, then I owe you 500,000 sats, and if it doesn't, you owe me 500,000 sats.
I'm 100% in. Let's do it.
Okay, deal. It locks in, but it doesn't activate, right? If that's the proper terminology.
Yeah. So it's going to activate in November.
Right.
So yeah, but it will lock
After
in.
lock in. Yeah.
Yeah. So lock in, and I am betting that we'll have a lock in during the 3rd activation period.
Which is the next one, right?
Which is the next one. We're currently on the 2nd one. Each activation period is 2 weeks, 2016 blocks. So yeah.
Awesome.
I think this one we already overshot it. We got 11% of the blocks are red. And we also, things are a little hairy because not all the miners are signaling consistently. So BTC.com is a straggler right now. And without them, we're at 85%, but with them, we're at like 94% or so. So, hey, that's not to say other people won't start messing around with it too, claim technical difficulties, say, oh, we're morally opposed to Taproot. Who knows? I don't think it's going to be super straightforward, but I think that the majority will prevail.
I think ironically, or maybe it's not ironic, I think like the recent dump in price helps Taproot activation because like if the miners are, if the price just is pumping and the miners just feel like they're baller as fuck, then I feel like they're more likely to fuck around. Yeah, but like the miners are feeling super poor right now. They, their net worth just went down by 23%. So they might be less likely to fuck around.
Yeah, I could see that. That's definitely a factor.
But I think it's the safe thing to assume is they're going to fuck around with us.
Someone's going to do something, and it's going to be short-sighted. But let's see how it pans out. We're still not exactly on the money right there with the rate we want to be. But the numbers are looking good. If our stragglers who've already
the real question is if Elon supports Taproot or not. I mean, that's basically that's how these decisions get decided.
Yeah, they phone him up. Elon gets on the phone. He calls up Ellen Big. He's like, "Yo, Ellen Big, what's going on? What do you think? Should we know
Ellen Big? Ellen Big should signal. Do we have their opinion on it? We don't know how they feel.
Gotta have them on the show.
I mean, I guess all Lightning people are very pro Taproot, rightfully so.
Yeah, I mean, no one really has a good argument against Taproot at this point. All our fighting has been about how to activate it.
Yeah. Ellen Big is AXA Insurance. We got easy out. I trust him because he said something earlier that I 100% agree with, which is the Chrysler building is a shitcoin. Okay, so if we get Taproot, so do we think any priv out is when do we think that's going to happen?
Next year.
Yeah, hopefully 2022.
Yeah.
Then
I'm betting on that.
On LN. So let's see. That's going to change up a whole bunch of stuff. I mean,
I think everybody loves any priv out. No one's against it. And if Taproot and creation does well. And the code is much simpler. The code changes. I think Anthony Towns has a branch that on Bitcoin Core that already does it. It's small changes. So
okay, well, I mean that's optimistic. I'm down with supporting that timeline. Do we think? What about cross input signature aggregation? Is that ever going to happen?
Oh man, that is such a loaded can of worms. Just because we don't really have a great way to do it without doing a hard fork, I believe. So, I mean, I think it's something everyone would like to see. I think
wait, you can do it with a soft fork, can't you?
I'm not 100% sure. Someone in the comments.
Well, if you can't do it without a hard fork, then we're fucked. But I thought,
Yeah,
I thought you could do it with the
that's
soft
the
fork.
biggest thing right now, that it would require a hard fork. The way that the signatures are read. So
Yeah.
if someone needs
Yeah.
to come up with a really great way to tackle that, and then maybe we'll have it. I don't know. You know, a lot of people are also posturing like, oh, it's not going to happen. There's too many corporate interests. It would provide for too much privacy. And I don't think that's really the case. I think if we found a clean way to do it, I think it would definitely get activated. But like I said, there's not a great way to do it right now.
Yeah, I don't know very much about that. I heard these things like that. No one has solved it. Like no one has found a way. But I think like after any pre-vault, we start to squeeze Bitcoin very much to put more things on it. And I don't know if it will work like that. But I'm hopeful that people will like drive chains, the hash rate escrow idea, and then we can move these things to side chains that are very
With the
cost
drive chains,
minimized.
did drive chains need any prev out?
No, but
No.
now the drive chain is two parts, like the merge mining, blind merge mining, and the hash rate escrow. And
But
we
is
can do the
merge
blind
mining
merge.
safe?
Yes, I think it is. The merge mining we can do with any prov-out. Like that's how the space chains work. And then we only need the hash rate escrow.
That's BIP 300, right? All the stuff with the merge mining.
Yeah.
Or is that just hash rate?
Hash rate,
escrow?
yeah, that's 300. Yeah. Why is it not safe? I don't know.
I don't know. I just like, why doesn't everyone merge mine? Like what I've been hearing about drive chains for such a long time. I just like assume it's vaporware.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of
Like, did you realize what happened with Dogecoin and Litecoin? We're back to the shit coins. Dogecoin is worth more than Litecoin, but it's merge mined with Litecoin. Like, I feel like that broke something, but I don't know what it broke. But I feel like there's got to be an incentive that's broken there. Like, they're Litecoin miners that are supposed to mine Dogecoin on the side, and now they're Dogecoin miners that are also mining Litecoin, right?
yeah. I think the incentives are weird, especially when it's like explicit merge mining, not blind, and also when there are two different shitcoins. Like in the case of drive chain, or you wouldn't have another shitcoin.
You wouldn't have a shitcoin.
Yeah, and there's an argument that it's. I think most people don't try to merge mine because it's not worth doing. Like the miners don't want to run a node on a stupid shitcoin thing. Just like they're mining Bitcoin, you don't want to plug a terrible software that will crash everything into their mining rigs. I think this was happening like when Namecoin is merged mining with Bitcoin, and Namecoin used it to crash miners nodes.
Well, what about like something like Bcash? Like, are they just idiots, or like why didn't they choose the merge mined route rather than, like their 10 block checkpoint thing with the minority hash rate of the same hash rate of the same algo? Like, why didn't they merge mine?
I think they're idiots. What's this? Bcash?
Yeah, that is the answer.
I mean, they're definitely idiots, but I'm curious if that's why they're not merge mining, or if that would be even dumber. It would be even dumber if they merge mine than if they do what they're currently doing. Like, I don't even see people offer that as an option. Like, no one talks about that in Bcash, or no one talked about it. Now it's worthless or whatever.
Oh, okay.
No one really talked about it.
Yeah, I think the problem is that the miners wouldn't want to run these offshores. But if it's blind merge mining, like the Space Chains model, then the miners don't have to know about it. You just merge mine by publishing transactions, normal Bitcoin transactions, and the miners just use this.
So like, how does that work, the merge mining? So like, let's say I'm a Litecoin miner, right? And, Dogecoin's piggybacking on it. And I'm like, listen, I don't care about Dogecoin. I don't want to do this extra computation. I don't care about the extra reward I'm going to get. So when I mine my blocks, does Doge not get a block mined? And effectively Dogecoin users have to wait until a miner comes and mines a block that does include Dogecoin?
Yeah, I think it is. The way it is. RSK is merge mined with Bitcoin, so the miners have to run RSK nodes, and I think 70% are doing it. You can look at the Coinbase of the blocks. Most of them have an RSK block thing on an upper return.
Yeah, but like, what does that mean? Like, is that secure or is that bullshit? Is that like a bullshit number when Sergio comes out and he's like 70, like he's like, we have one of the most hash rates out of any chain, you know, besides Bitcoin. We have 70% of Bitcoin hash rate is merge mining RSK. Like, is that just bullshit?
I think it's partly bullshit, but it's also partly good. It's bullshit because it's not the same security model of Bitcoin, but it's also a good way of doing. You need some time stamping thing on your chain, and the best way to do it is just to use the Bitcoin chain. But on the other hand, it's not secure in the sense that you can't. It's hard to roll back. It's easier to roll back RSK than it is to roll back Bitcoin.
It's got a property of that, like if you attack, let's say Litecoin or Rootstock, whatever, or you attack the main chain that all the merge mining is piggybacking on, you can also hack or 51% attack, you know, the subchains. So like if you do an attack,
that's a given. That's a given. But I mean, it basically incentivizes it further monetizes an attack on the main chain. But like I'm struggling with the idea of this like 70% merge mined with Bitcoin. Like, does that make it more secure than a independent chain that just has a different POW, like Ethereum, you know, that has a different algorithm, but is POW, separate POW, less hash rate than 70% of Bitcoin's hash rate? Is probably more secure than, I mean, there's other elements to it, right? But proof of work wise, it's probably more secure than this merge mined RSK shit.
Yeah, that's hard question.
It's so weird. It's so weird because we like talk about all these theoreticals, right? And then it's like, you know, like super centralized, like Binance chain doesn't get attacked or anything. You know, it's like we have like these super centralized Dogecoin, right? Like there's like 3 people running Dogecoin nodes, right? Like no one is. They keep all their Dogecoin on Robinhood or whatever, and no one actually attacks it. So like until like people like actually, until like these chains actually get attacked, it's all just kind of theoretical bullshit.
But many of them, those were attacked. Like Ethereum Classic was attacked many times.
Yeah, Ethereum Classic got fucking wrecked.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
like,
in a
why
lot
did
of
they
these
merge
cases,
mine?
It's really about the lowest hanging fruit in a lot of these situations. You know what I mean? Like the coins that are easiest to crack on certain hash rates. I mean, certain algorithms are going to get cracked first. You know, why not? If you're building up this capacity to do it, like,
right.
I feel like those lower hash rate chains are sort of like canaries in the coal mine.
Yeah, I mean, so maybe I'm just being skeptical for skeptical's sake, but for whatever reason, my gut just like every time I see this merge mine shit, I just don't trust it, and it just seems wrong to me. But I can't put my finger on it.
So how does it work then in, say, a drive chain, right? Like if there's no block subsidy for it because you're not making a shitcoin, like how does that work?
Well, you pay fees, and then the sidechain miner uses those fees to pay for block space on the main chain.
Gotcha.
So that's the security model. I think I'm not sure, but I think it's safe to say it's based on the money spent. It's just a cleaner way to do it. You spend money and you secure the chain. You don't have to buy poor proof of work stuff, ASICs and video cards, and start mining things. And you just reuse Bitcoin and you pay money for it.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Fair enough. So, I mean, before we close this up, I mean, I wanted to talk about, I guess you're like working on this like distributed like broadcasting platform, like a distributed Twitter. I think you're calling it Nostra.
Yeah.
Did I pronounce it right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think about how to pronounce things. But
I have clearly.
Yeah, like how do you say that Jap? Are we saying that right?
He doesn't even know.
Yeah, I think you are.
Does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
So what is this? Nostra.
Oh, that's a way, the best way I could find to stop the censorship stuff on the internet, and like Twitter censorship. But then I realized it could be used for more stuff, and it's I'm not sure how to explain it. It's a decentralized thing, but it's not peer to peer. You have servers, and you connect to the servers, and you send your stuff to these servers, and someone else can listen to this stuff. Like the server will send to them, and you can use multiple servers, and you're always safe because there will always be some server that even like the idea is that the servers will block you, but you can use another server, but you want your identity. Like it's not like Mastodon. The server knows it owns your identity. So if the server blocks you, you're screwed. And
But with Mastodon, the server owns your identity too, right?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Sorry.
Right.
Mastodon, the server owns your identity. On Nostr, you own because it's a
Oh.
key pair. And then you just use the server to publish stuff. And if the server blocks you, you have other servers that you're also publishing to. And you can also start your own server, and people can follow you in any server as long as they know your public key. Or you can use some kind of DNS stuff to give that public key a readable name.
So it's like a federated Twitter where you control your identity because it's a public-private key pair.
Yeah, basically that. And it's a small change. Like that's the essential change between that and Nostr and Mastodon. But you get a ton of cool things with this change, like the fact that it becomes like a network for enemies, in the sense that you can have multiple servers, and we call them relays. But each can have its own policy. One can do KYC, and the other can just ban certain topics, and the other can be free, and the other can charge. One can store your stuff for you, the other can just relay it and delete it. And it's a very flexible model. And and there's a way to pay for these things, because you have a relationship with a server, and you know that server, and then that server can charge you for extra things or the basic service of relaying your things. So you can use that to pass more things than just Twitter messages. I think it works.
And theoretically, that could be like your Lightning public key too. If we're just gonna, right?
Yeah, it could be. I made it like, because I was feeling very fancy. I made the public keys in the protocol to be Taproot keys, like the BIP 342 keys.
You're very cocky.
Yeah, because I thought, oh, maybe someone wants to do some weird cryptographic stuff with these keys, but yeah, it doesn't make much difference.
That's the main negative of Mastodon, right? So, like, to the freaks that don't know, Mastodon's like a federated version of Twitter that has competition among the servers, which are, the different federations. I think instances are what they call them. But what happens is, because you don't own your identity, there's still a lot of friction if whatever server you're using decides to fuck you, or get very censorship happy. It's hard to move your social graph, your followers and your following or whatever, to a way to mitigate that kind of thing. There's a heavy friction layer there, right?
Yeah. They have a way to export, but it assumes the server is cooperative. Like the server will
defeats the whole purpose
after the fact.
Yeah.
So if you're kicked off, like there's no way of moving your data.
Yeah. And that they also have this narrative that each instance has its own identity. Like you have an instance for some kind of people, and then another for other kind of people. But in the end, like if I join a server that only allows talking about football, and then I start following people from other servers, the football server will have to fetch all these posts from these other servers that are not its main interest, and then it becomes a I think it doesn't scale very much. It only scales if there's some big servers, and I don't know. I'm not sure. But I don't think the incentives are aligned. I don't know how it's working to this day, but it seems to be working. But the main problem is this of the identity.
I dig it. I like that concept. I mean, that was the main thing that was pushing me away. And to be honest, like the freaks say, like, why don't I use Mastodon more? Like, fuck social media. Like, I just, I'm gonna use Twitter till I get banned, and then sayonara. Yeah. I like the private group chats. I think it's a healthier way to stay in touch with people and have real discussions. Obviously, I think Dispatch is a great format for real discussion as well. So I mean, I think this has been a great conversation. This is one thing I want to talk about: LNURL. So we have the QR code on the bottom left. I saw you like talking shit about the LNURL maintainer. Like you want to talk
I think
about
I
that?
am the maintainer now. Yeah.
Now you're the maintainer.
Hell yeah. That's all you have to listen up, kids. You have an open source project out there. You don't like the way things are being run. All you have to do is go talk shit on the maintainer, and it's going to be yours now.
No,
What's his name? Robson or something?
That was not the maintainer. Like that's just the guy who had the initial idea for channels. The first idea was with like getting a channel automatically from a peer from your mobile wallet, and then it was implemented by BLW. And then Anton was the maintainer, but then he gave the repository to me. I think he didn't like it anymore. I don't know. But the guy who invented it, he thought that by encoding this QR code, it has a bunch of garbage on it, a bunch of letters, and these letters are batch 32 encoded URLs, normal URLs. And it could be just a normal, a plain URL instead of the batch 32 thing. But the guy thought that the QR codes would be smaller if you encoded them in this batch 32 thing. Mm-hmm. But in fact, they aren't. Like he could have checked this in 1 minute, but he didn't. So now we're stuck with this protocol that we can't change now because it will break everything. So
but it'd be easier if it was just a URL. It was just a plain text QR code URL, right?
Yes.
So we can't change it now? Why can't we change it now? Like hardly any wallets use it.
Man. Just put in a pull request. What's going on?
Yeah, I can just change the thing on the protocol, and then that will just break everything.
There's not many wallets that support it yet, right? Are there? I mean, BLW supports it. Wallet of Satoshi supports it. Zeus supports it. Does Zeus support it?
Oh yeah, well we support a bunch of them, and it's mostly Jeff's doing. But we don't support what is it, Channel or Auth yet? I'd really like to get Auth in. I think Auth is my favorite one.
These things are all different. Like they're separate. It's weird that they all have the same name, but
yeah, they're different concepts, sort of playing on top of Lightning. But yeah, they all have to be implemented separately. But yeah, Auth is the idea that you can, be connected to your node, right? And then you're presented with a QR code on the site to log in. You scan it. Your node talks to the web server, and you get logged in. I think that's a really awesome way to get rid of passwords in a lot of places. So, Jeff, my question is, what the hell do we have to do to get this working in Zeus?
Well, I don't know. You have to look at what Breeze did because they did something with the LND keys. You just have to use a private key. And where that private key comes from doesn't matter very much, but it's better if you reusing your Bitcoin seed key. So, yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. Last time I was looking at it, LND needed a fix, but yeah, it seems like the Breeze guys has some sort of workaround.
Yeah, there's a workaround. I think the LND has that sign message thing, and you can sign a message that's in the protocol, like on the LNURL of spec. Like you sign a default message and you use that signature because it's deterministic. You use that as your LNURL key. So
yeah.
that's just a way to generate the key from the LND node.
And you need a different key for each site too, right?
Yeah. Then you take that key and you HMAC it with the website's the domain.
Domain name, yes.
Yeah. Then you have a key for the website. But the idea is that you only need the seed key from LND, and you can generate all the other keys.
Yeah.
But this is a very old idea, like the idea of LNURL. There's a protocol called SQRL something that did this exact same thing. And
Sounds like you named it. Sorry.
Okay. And there's the bit ID. What is it called? Bit ID. I don't know. Someone did a Bitcoin keys, but these two, and maybe there are others. The problem with them is that you can man in the middle people. You can make a website can make you sign something that's actually valid for the other website, and then they steal your credentials. But LNURL solves that by generosity, by making these keys that are different for each domain.
And in practice, what the user is seeing is, I may or may not have tested this out with lnmarkets.com, is that you can just like sign, you just open a Lightning wallet that's compatible. I mean, Phoenix is the one that I tried it with. I didn't try it with. And then you just scan the QR code and it just automatically signs you in. And every time you want to sign back in, you just scan the QR code. And it's as simple as that for the end user, right?
Yeah.
Real W2.
It doesn't have to be a Lightning wallet, actually. Could be any key.
Right, but I'm saying in practice, this is what a Bitcoin user would see probably, right? They probably use the Lightning wallet. The cool part is you already have the wallet, right? And and presumably you're going to be funding the service with that same wallet, right? So you use LNURL for withdrawals, and you use it Lightning for deposits, and you use LNURL auth for. I guess you could use LNURL to pay as well, but you can use the whole stack. What's interesting is LN Markets is down, by the way, right now. Amazon CloudFront. Oh, blocked for my country. It's because I see. My VPN is in America right now.
It happens.
It happens. VPNs don't exist, so like, of course, the IP blocks work. So we hit that. That was so. I think LNURL to me, maybe I'm a little bit biased as a content creator, but is kind of to me is like this holy grail that we've been working for a while. Where, and I see this in the work I do with activists who are trying to accept donations. This idea that we could have like some kind of fixed text or fixed QR code that never changes, that still allows you to accept donations in a relatively private way. Because let's be honest, like if you're accepting donations, like BTC Pay Server is way too heavy. Like that's ridiculous. So would you agree, Fiat Jeff, that like that's kind of our best path forward right now? Like, stealth addresses, aren't really happening on Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think it's good for donations, the annual pay thing, but yeah, I think it's good for donations. But my idea with it initially, when I suggested it, was like to make things in the physical world with it. Because on a website, if you're open a website, the website can generate a Lightning invoice, a normal Lightning invoice to you at any time. But in the streets, like you want to buy some food on the street, and the seller can just have a single QR code there, and you scan it, and the seller knows you bought, and that kind of thing. There are many niche use cases like this. Yeah, but for streams like this, like you use this, is good too. And besides just making a payment, there's also like you can return stuff to the user, so you can have some form of interactivity there. Like the user receives a code on their wallet and they use the code to open a door or something, or I don't know. If you saw, like, there's videos from I forgot what the channel is, but that's BTC Socialist is in these videos,
Right.
and he puts a QR code with an URL there, and if you scan and pay 100 sats, like he gets slapped in the face by a
Right, like
machine.
smoke bombs and stuff.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's the vision. That's the vision I had.
and he's working on that with Ellen Bits, I think, like to have I guess that's it. He's the lead maintainer of that project to create like basically a streamer's cool toolkit. If you're a streamer and you want to add these things, he's like making it so it works with OBS, which is like a very common software that streamers use. So Fiat Jeff, I mean, one of the things that I really like about you is that you're super contrarian. I feel like you're always like mouthing off at people on Twitter, but you do it from a like a builder's point of view. Like I feel like you're also, like you're building products that, projects that I feel like there's just like not that much focus on. Like once again, like LNTX bot, like you think it's like this boring project, but it's like a super useful thing that like I assume thousands of people are. It's probably one of the more popular Lightning wallets. No one's competing with you. Like no one's even bothering to try. What is like before we leave here? Like what is for the freaks? Like what is hit us with some contrarianism. Like what is a common fallacy that Bitcoiners parrot all the time? What is something that frustrates you? Like what like
Yeah, that's well, the latest one I've been thinking about is the problem of Lightning HTLCs. Like there's this fund from Bcashers. I don't know if you remember, like some time ago, the guy saying that HTLCs they don't work for small payments because they are uneconomical, and then everybody got mad at him. I forgot the name. Oh, it's Peter Reason, I think, was saying this, but he's right, and everybody refuses to acknowledge that, I think, or they acknowledge but they say, oh, it's not a big problem, because when you make a Lightning payment, the HTLC, it goes to, like, you create an output for the HTLC on your commitment transaction, and then if that HTLC, if the peer fails you, like, you have to close the channel and then redeem that HTLC. Either the receiver redeems it with a pre-image, or the sender redeems it after a timeout. That's the point. And for most like if the fees are like $5, most Lightning payments are below $5, and when they're over $5, they get splitted by MPP, and so they get below the threshold. And then you don't create these HTLCs because they would be uneconomical to redeem on the chain, so they just don't exist. And the amounts go to the miner fees of that transaction, if that transaction ever gets published. But the node implementations, they act like if the HTLCs existed. So the HTLC doesn't exist, you can't redeem it, but your node says, oh, the other node isn't cooperating, I will close the channel to redeem the HTLC. And then it closes the channel. And then only then it realized there's no HTLC there, so it closed the channel for no reason. So I've been talking to some people about this idea, and most of the people I talked to, they were like, oh, I think it's not so bad, but I think this is really bad. Yeah, that was a contrarian take, very complex, I think. There's ways to improve this that I came up with, but other people may come up with better ways.
I mean, the main takeaway, right, is that like if you do a transaction on Lightning that's under the dust limit of whatever the dust limit is at any given time, potentially dust limit in the future, uh, then all of a sudden that's not a trust minimized payment anymore, right? Because there's no way to actually settle it. That's
Yeah.
the crux of the issue.
Yeah. And then the entire Lightning protocol assumes that you get a pre-image that's a proof of your payment.
Right.
But you don't get that pre-image if the channel, if the like in a normal HTLC, the ideal world in which everything is HTLCs, you would get that. Even if a channel failed in the middle, the party would still see the pre-image on the chain and pass the pre-image back until it gets to the sender. But if these HTLCs don't exist, there's no pre-image. So you could have paid, the person could have received the payment, but you never get a proof of payment. I think this is serious because it doesn't happen very often, I think, or maybe it does it, but we don't know. But I think this is serious, and I think people should stop pretending Lightning is fully trustless, and face the fact that these payments aren't trustless, and then do something about it instead of just assuming they are and closing the channels for no reason.
And what I feel like happens is like whenever you bring it up, like there's just like a lot of hand waving, like, oh, well, like you should just pick trusted channel partners.
Yeah, but that doesn't,
like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, but even if you have trusted channel partners, like it's most of the times it's not the fault of your channel partner. It's not the channel partner trying to cheat on you. It's just a bug, or some other peer did something on
just
on
not
the route.
getting the confirmation, not getting all the way back. Yeah, it's definitely an issue.
And if it would be much better, the protocol, if we face this fact and realize it's not fully trustless, but we can still use it and stop closing channels for no reason.
Yeah, if you want trustless, then you use the main chain and pay the fees as as you have to because you're using a very robust protocol. Mm-hmm. And if you want a lighter trade-off balance that is cheaper and faster, that requires a little bit more trust, then you use Lightning, right?
Yeah. And I think a better model for these that involves more trust and maybe third-party arbiters to prevent abuses, like would scale better and would allow for other kinds of payment protocols to be integrated with more easily. I don't know. And also we could use PTLCs, like the DLC stuff today without Taproot, because it wouldn't happen on the chain. It would never go to the chain.
Without Taproot?
Yeah, without Taproot.
Would you want to jump into that? I mean, I'm a little bit confused on what you just said there.
Yeah. No. Let's skip this.
Okay, fair enough. That's what I love about Bitcoin. I feel like we're all just different levels of confused and we're just doing it together.
Yeah, I'm definitely confused.
I mean, this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate you joining us. I mean, like I think I said this in the beginning. I don't know if we were on air yet, but this is your first English language podcast, which is fucking awesome. I'm very proud of the amount of podcast virginities I've taken here on Dispatch over the last 22 episodes. I think it's awesome. I want to do something different with Dispatch. I don't want to do more of the same. There's a lot of content out there for you freaks. And I wanted to do something unique and something different that added value. So every day that I get to do that with Dispatch is fucking awesome. Yeah, we have John Fisher in the comments over my head. One of the other cool things is that one thing I've noticed with BitDevs is like, I feel like even if the over the head stuff is happening around you, you kind of just like you absorb some of it, and you just keep doing it, and you'll just keep absorbing it.
I only understood how Bitcoin basic things work like after many years of not thinking I had understood, but was wrong. And then I read something, and I didn't understand, and it was terrible, but it's good in the end.
Exactly. If you're not, if you're not confused, you're probably not pushing yourself hard enough. I think is like a relatively good rule of thumb.
Yeah, and don't pretend you like know something you don't. Like it's such a deep rabbit hole with all these sub rabbit holes you can get sucked down to, and it's obviously impossible to keep track of it all.
So with all that said, do you guys have any final topics that you want to discuss before we wrap it up here?
I don't think so. Jeff, you got anything?
No, I've talked too much.
Not enough. You have not talked enough. It's been an honor to have you here.
You got to come back on, do some other issues. I'm sure Matt will pair you up with someone who pokes a little less fun at you. But
I'm still a little bit shocked you came on, Fiat Jeff, to be honest. It's been an honor. Okay, well, I appreciate both of you guys. I appreciate the work you've done. I appreciate you coming on. I encourage you to continue your work. I will do my best from my pedestal to support you guys and use your projects and advocate for people to support and use them as well. On that note, if you're an open source contributor and you're looking for funding, consider submitting your project at opensats.org. We're going to be announcing our first sets of grants very soon, probably at the conference. We'll see on June 4th, June 5th in Miami. If you haven't already, consider donating to the Bitcoin car at the Indy 500 that is being led by Jack Mahlers. He will not be driving it. Ed Carpenter will be driving it, but he is leading the initiative, and all those funds are going to open source development, Bitcoin focused open source development. You can get that at strike.me/racing. Also, as I said earlier in the show, any donations that came in through that LNURL QR code during the length of the show will be split 50-50 between me to recoup costs and the IndyCar. You should also pressure every company in the space and every person who likes to flex about how much Bitcoin they own on Twitter into donating here. It's a very baller initiative. We have a race car that will win the race. It's a very flashy race car, and it's a good time to peer pressure your favorite influencer and corporation. So consider doing that. With all that said, I thank both of you guys. Evan, I'll see you in Miami. Fiat Jeff, I hope to meet you one day in person and split a beer. Well, we could have our own beers, but share beers. And thank you both.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks again for having me again, Matt. Cheers.
Love you, freaks. Thank you for tuning in for another Bitcoin Tuesday. You guys make it all worth it. Just a quick reminder that Citadel Dispatch is available on all of your favorite podcast apps. It makes me feel dirty, but consider subscribing and giving a good review. It does go a long way. I do appreciate it. I will see you on Thursday for Rabbit Hole Recap. I'll see you next Tuesday for Citadel Dispatch. I have about 20 Dispatch first run hats left. If you want one, hit me up via Telegram or Keybase. I love you all. Stay humble, stack sets. 200K by conference day, still in play.